Chapter 333. With that said, Bei Yunj thought of the etiquette that Huashidu attached great importance to and turned to look at Ji Yiqing. Brother Yiqing, thank you for sending me back today. You're welcome. This Brother Yiqing made Ji Yiqing's body stiffen before he smiled. On the other hand, the man who had been looking at Ji Yiqing had his usual lazy and cold gaze turned deep. Then I'll go upstairs first. I'll treat you to a meal when I'm free. With that said, Bei Yunj went in. However, Huashidu remembered that she had said the same thing when he met this child for the second time. Speaking of which, it was probably Ji Yiqing's second time meeting this child. Master Du, does Yunj usually stay at your house? Ji Yiqing was still looking at the living room, his tone casual. Huashidu's fingertips flicked the silver lighter casually. His handsome and dignified eyes looked lazy and casual. Why? She doesn't stay in the Qin family? Ji Yiqing seemed to be overly concerned about Bei Yunj as he muttered to himself, this little girl isn't like the rumors at all. Instead, she always makes people unable to take their eyes off her. Young Master Ji is very interested in Yunyun. Huashidu looked up, his tone emotionless. Hearing this, Ji Yiqing was about to nod when he felt Huashidu's cold gaze. Ji Yiqing was speechless. What was going on? Within moments, Ji Yiqing laughed involuntarily. Master Du, what are you worried about? Ji Yiqing, you're not young anymore, Huashidu said slowly. Ji Yiqing understood what Huashidu meant. He forgot to clarify and said seriously. Let's see, I'm only 5 or 6 years older than Yunj. Is the age difference big? So, you like Yunyun? Huashidu's eyes gradually darkened. Master Du, don't look like you want to kill me. Ji Yiqing pressed between his eyebrows. Yunj will get married sooner or later. Master Du, why are you so jealous? Hearing this, Huashidu's fingers stopped moving. What did you say? I said, sooner or later, Yunj. Before Ji Yiqing could finish speaking, he suddenly realized something. Master Du, could it be that he liked this girl? Are you? A thought flashed through Ji Yiqing's mind when he saw the man frowning slightly. A playful look flashed past his eyes. Master Du, I'm actually not that bad, am I? I'm good-looking and good-tempered, and I've never had a girlfriend. I don't have any bad habits. Moreover, if the Qin family and the Ji family can unite through marriage, the Qin family won't lose out. Ji Yiqing. Huashidu looked at him. An unknown emotion spread out, and there was an indescribable danger in his eyes. For the first time in more than 20 years, Huashidu, who had always been calm and at ease, disliked someone so much. This was also the first time he had the desire to fight. When Ji Yiqing saw this, he was also stunned for a moment before he smiled and said, Master Du, do you want to see how scary you look now? He walked closer to Huashidu and his smile deepened. This is the first time I've seen you like this, Master Du, it's quite rare. Huashidu restrained the dangerous look in his eyes. He also felt that his reaction was too unreasonable. Not long after, Huashidu roughly understood why. Because of the little girl who had just entered. And all his unreasonable emotions at this moment came from his possessiveness. The little girl that Master Du likes doesn't look ordinary either. But if Master Du doesn't chase after her, I want to try too. Chapter 334. I won't send you off. Take care, young Master Ji. The man's gaze was indifferent, but there was an inexplicable aggressiveness in his eyes that exuded a sense of oppression. Ji Yiqing ignored the man's expression and continued to ask with a smile, so fast? Can't we chat more? As soon as he finished speaking. Before Huashidu could speak, he heard a voice upstairs. Ji Yiqing. Huashidu frowned without batting an eyelid. Seeing this, the smile on Ji Yiqing's lips deepened. Master Du, look, I can't leave yet. These words sounded different in the man's ears. It was as if Ji Yiqing was deliberately provoking him. At this moment, Bei Yunj walked down and said directly, Can you leave your contact details? Okay, I'll be waiting for your orders, Miss Pei. Ji Iching smiled gently, but his gaze was discreetly sizing up the neglected man beside him. Bei Yunja's eyes moved. You can look for me if you need anything. With that, she turned and went upstairs. Seeing Bei Yunj leave, Ji Iching laughed again. Before he could speak, he heard Huashidu say coldly, Ji Iching, don't cause trouble for yourself. Master Du, Miss Pei is an adult and doesn't have a boyfriend. Ji Iching felt that Huashidu could drag him out and beat him up at any time. So what? Huashidu sneered. I don't mind waiting for Miss Pei for another 2 years, Ji Iching insisted fearlessly. But as soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere suddenly became silent. After a long while. Just when Ji Iching thought that Huashidu would ignore him, he saw him light a cigarette and his tone was calm and fearless. Who dares to touch my child in Yunsheng? Bei Yunj found Mrs. Ning's information. However, when she saw the photo of Mrs. Ning's son, she was surprised to find that this was the person who had caused a ruckus at her birthday party because of Qin Yojiao. Bei Yunja's lips curled up slightly, but the temperature in her eyes turned colder. So that was the case. Bei Yunj restrained the light in her eyes and slowly searched for information about this young Master Ning. When it was time for dinner, Bei Yunj went downstairs. Miss Pei, the gentleman who sent you here today is also very handsome. Auntie Miao smiled happily. He's a friend. Brother knows him too. Bei Yunj glanced at Huashidu and remembered that she had not spoken to Huashidu much today. For a while, Bei Yunj couldn't find a topic to talk about. Suddenly, Bei Yunj asked casually, Brother, how did you know Ji Iching? Upon hearing that Bei Yunja's first sentence today was to ask about Ji Iching, Huashidu's gaze deepened. A family friend. On the surface, he still spoke casually. Bei Yunj forced herself to continue the conversation. He's not bad. Is that so? Huashidu raised his eyebrows and his gaze landed on Bei Yunj. He asked casually, Does Yunyan like this? He's all right. He's quite tactful. Bei Yunj changed the topic and changed the description. Gentle. However, she did not notice that the eyes of the man sitting beside her had darkened. Huashidu stared straight at Bei Yunj in front of him. He thought of how this young lady had gone overboard last night and her attitude towards Ji Iching today. He subconsciously licked the tip of his itchy teeth and chuckled softly. I couldn't tell that Yunyan liked so many types. At this moment, Bei Yunj could sense the danger in the man's tone. Chapter 335. Brother, what's wrong with you today? Bei Yunj felt that something was wrong with Huashidu. It's nothing. I'm thinking about something. Huashidu's gaze swept past Bei Yunj. The young lady's liking was indeed like a gust of wind. It disappeared after it blew. She had secretly kissed him last night, but today, she felt that Ji Iching was gentle. I see. Bei Yunj nodded in understanding. Coincidentally, someone had sent her a message. She glanced at it. It was Du Xiao asking her to consider the International Musicians Association. Bei Yunj replied without thinking. Sure. At this moment, Du Xiao, who was still waiting in the hotel in the city center, had his eyes light up. This trip to Yunsheng was indeed not in vain. The next morning, the International Musicians Association posted a public announcement online. To celebrate, the International Musicians Association welcomed the first musician from country A. The International Musicians Association would decide to open up 2 more spots to country A. The moment this news was released, the entire internet went viral. Hashtag the first member of the International Musicians Association in country A hashtag made the headlines. What immortal? Am I dreaming? The first member of the International Musicians Association from country A? Don't you think that the name of the first member from country A looks a little familiar, Yun? F***CK, isn't this Yumanran's composer? A big shot who suddenly appeared. So, how did Yumanran get the big shot to compose for her? How can a pop singer's composer be considered a serious musician? The person above is really ignorant. Do you know how many famous overseas musicians have taken Yun's score? Soon, because Yun made the headlines, Yumanran's song also received dividends and continued to dominate the music app. After that, everyone also realized that because of the sudden recruitment of the International Musicians Association, many people went to listen to Yun's song. In the end, all of them became fans. They even took first place on the foreign music charts. It received great praise. And this sudden good luck was thrown directly at Yumanran. Naturally, a large number of singers were jealous. They all wanted to use their connections to dig out some information about Yun. But after digging around, they realized that other than writing songs for Yumanran, this Yun did not have any other connections. In the piano room, Qin Yojiao was halfway through her piano practice when someone called her. Her hand paused as she realized who the caller might be. She stood up quietly and answered the call. She stood by the window and asked, "Why are you calling me at this time? If you don't call now, I'm afraid Miss Qin will forget who got you the invitation to the nearly 18 debutante ball." Qin Yojiao clenched her fists and said with a smile, "How can that be? Yojiao, I know very well in my heart why I want to help you, don't I?" That person also laughed. "I know that you're targeting the Qin family. But my mother is also Mrs. Qin." Qin Yojiao clenched her fists as a struggle appeared in her eyes. Everyone in the Qin family treated her badly, but Mrs. Qin treated her as her biological daughter. If she really helped this person, how disappointed would Mrs. Qin be in her? Are you sure that blood relations are really not important? The more upper class a family is, the more they value the purity of their bloodline. That person smiled. For example, in our family, the son of a mistress is only an illegitimate son no matter how capable he is. It's impossible for him to inherit the family business. Yojiao, I have plenty of ways to make you the one and only eldest young miss of the Qin family. P.S. Be good and remember the monthly recommendation ticket. Chapter 336. These words made Qin Yojiao's heart skip a beat. Could he really make Bei Yunj leave the Qin family? Your 3 brothers will only dote on you like before. Yojiao, don't you want that? Qin Yojiao bit her lip as hatred flashed past her eyes. She wanted to. If it wasn't for Bei Yunj, she wouldn't have been chased out like a stray dog. Yojiao, and we can become very good friends. That person guided her patiently. How about this? I'll give you a membership spot in the International Musicians Association as my first gift to you. How about that? Qin Yojiao froze. She already knew that this person had a noble status and was not someone the Qin family could compare to. However, she never thought that this person would be able to get her a spot in both the nearly 18 debutante ball and the International Musicians Association. Can I really do that? Qin Yojiao asked tentatively. That person laughed, his voice as pleasant as a silver bell as he asked casually, "Why not?" Hengda. Bei Yunj glanced at the message Du Xiao had sent. "Yunj, how about you be the chief examiner for Country A's recruitment this time?" Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched and she rejected him directly. "I'm not free." Soon, Du Xiao immediately persuaded her. "Yunj, you've just arrived. I have to give you some authority. This recruitment review isn't troublesome. Other than you, there are 2 other members who will assist you. They won't make you too tired. If you come and help, we don't have to pay the membership fees in the future, okay?" When he sent the last sentence, Du Xiao felt that Yumanran was cheating him. It was just a membership fee of 10 to 20,000 yuan. Why would Bei Yunj care? But very quickly, Du Xiao saw that person's reply. Sure. Du Xiao was speechless. As a big boss, didn't she need at least some face? Class 1-inch, what's going on today? Qin Yojiao seems to have been in the piano room and hasn't come out much. I heard it's for the International Musicians Association, someone said. Hearing this, many people in the class were confused. International Musicians Association? What's that? Soon, someone explained, only a handful of well-known musicians can enter the International Musicians Association. What's the use of being a musician? Isn't he just playing piano for others? Hearing this, the girl next to him said disdainfully. However, soon, some people rolled their eyes. He sneered. Ignorant. The most important benefit of the International Musicians Association is to gather connections. As a member of the International Musicians Association, do you know how many big shots from various countries you can get to know? Moreover, for these big shots, the International Musicians Association is also an important network of connections. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Hearing this explanation, everyone suddenly understood why so many people in the country were so excited when the first member of Country A appeared. Moreover, because of that member's participation this time, the International Musicians Association had also given 2 additional slots. It was as if Country A was being loved on account of the same thing. Then wouldn't the composer of Umanran be overjoyed? Someone asked enviously. The International Musicians Association started to say last month that they wanted to recruit a new member, but it was only today that they officially announced that it was Yun. The internet speculates that the International Musicians Association may have dug for more than a month before they managed to find her. With that said, everyone seemed to understand why the International Musicians Association was so happy that they were so happy to give 2 additional slots to Country A. It turned out that they had gone through a lot of trouble to poach her. Then Qin Yojiao is too lucky. If she gets this opportunity, won't she be the youngest member of the International Musicians Association? Chapter 337. You think too highly of Qin Yojiao. Is it so easy to enter the International Musicians Association? Someone could not help laughing. All the works of the International Musicians Association are left in the textbooks. What works can she have? Didn't Yun get in too? The boy in the class who liked Qin Yojiao could not help retorting. How can she compare to Yun? Before the 2 of them could start arguing, someone beside them said softly, "My friend in our nation said that their Ministry of Education is indeed buying Yun's copyright, it was just that they had not agreed to sell it yet." Hearing this, everyone could not help but fall silent. Our nation was buying the copyright of their country's song? This was really a series of events in their lifetime. No wonder the International Musicians Association was so anxious to poach her. I really want to know who Yun is. It's like she appeared out of thin air. Do you remember that in the past, Umanran was at most a B-list celebrity? Once he collaborated with Yun, he immediately became a popular A-list celebrity. There's a reason for this. Some people started their piano tour at the age of 18 and didn't cause much trouble. These words happened to be heard by Qin Yojiao, who had just walked in. The gloominess in her eyes disappeared. She clenched her fists tightly, her nails digging into her flesh. It was that Yun again. Suddenly, Qin Yojiao remembered what Umanran had told her last time. That person was about her age. If Umanran wasn't lying to her, wouldn't she become a joke when Yun appeared in front of everyone one day? At this thought, Qin Yojiao's face paled and her body trembled slightly. No. She would never allow this to happen. Qin Yojiao pushed open the door and walked to her seat with a cold expression. The girl who had mocked Qin Yojiao behind her back was so frightened that her face paled and she didn't dare to say anything. The entire classroom was silent and awkward. Qin Yojiao sat in her seat and sent a message to that person. "Help me get Yun's new score and I'll do anything for you, okay?" When she typed this message, Qin Yojiao's hands were trembling. She didn't want to do such a thing, but she didn't want to become a laughing stock either. "It's not difficult, but why do you want her score?" Qin Yojiao gritted her teeth and sent another message. "I want to destroy her." Only in this way could she continue to be a proud girl in everyone's eyes, a young pianist. "Okay, then remember what you promised me." Seeing this message, Qin Yojiao heaved a sigh of relief, but unconsciously, a thin layer of sweat covered her forehead. Qin Corporation. "President Qin, this bouquet of black roses is here again," Secretary Qian said cautiously. As expected. When Qin Luyan heard that, a cold glint flashed across his eyes. The low pressure around him made it hard for him to breathe. However, this flower delivery woman was like a lunatic. She would send a bouquet of black roses every day. Regardless of whether she rejected it or not, there would always be a bouquet of black roses at the front desk the next day. Throw it away. Qin Luyan suppressed the hostility in his eyes. His eyes were still arrogant and handsome. This woman was still as disgusting as she had been in her previous life. President Qin, do we really not need to investigate? Is there a need to investigate a lunatic? Qin Luyan's tone was cold, but the veins on the back of his hand were popping out. In his previous life, it was because of this woman that the Qin family was ruined. This time, no matter what, he would make her pay the price. During this period of time, the Qin Corporation had expanded crazily and was already very eye-catching. Even the woman far away in our country had noticed it. P.S. Today, chapters 9 to 12. Remember to vote every month. Chapter 338. How could she not tell that Qin Luyan was already on guard against her? However, as long as Qin Youjiao could be used by her, she would always have a trump card. In the Ning family. Do you mean that the Qin family's daughter who went back really came to look for you? Mrs. Ning snorted. I really didn't expect Lin Lanjun to raise such a filial child. That's right. Yesterday afternoon, my brothers and I wanted to kidnap Bei Yunj, but we didn't expect. That person's expression was ugly. Thinking of what happened yesterday, he was traumatized. She didn't even leave Lin Jianan any face and stepped on him. Just thinking about that scene made his scalp turn numb. Hearing this, Madame Ning's action of picking up the Persian cat stopped. Then she walked towards the sofa and sneered. How ruthless. However, Lin Lanjun is still in my hands now, so she can't cause any trouble. Madam, she should come to look for you in the next 2 days. Mrs. Ning's tone was sarcastic and contemptuous. She's not coming to look for me. She's coming to beg me. She was waiting for Lin Lanjun's granddaughter to come to her door and beg her. Then, she would let Lin Lanjun see with her own eyes how she tortured Bei Yunj. At noon. Bei Yunj received the information from Si Qingyan. You want me to do such a thing for you? What a sin. Take a look. Is it complete? Bei Yunj smirked. After receiving the information, she quickly replied to Si Qingyan. Thank you. I'll help you look at the project on Friday. Then, Bei Yunj flipped through the information about the Ning family. The playfulness on her lips deepened, but the smile did not reach her eyes. After a while, she edited a copy of the information and sent it to Yu Manran. Then, she sent a message slowly. Do you have time to help me? This piece of information needs some exposure. In less than a minute. Man, arrange it. Mua. Until the afternoon. The news about the Ning family had completely entered everyone's field of vision. Regardless of whether it was the fact that the Ning family had close contact with the retired senior officials in order to gain a foothold in the country, or the fact that the only young master of the Ning family had taken drugs outside 2 years ago and was left unsettled in the end, it had caused a huge sensation. The Ning family is really a big melon. My friend is young Master Ning's classmate. In the past, in order to pursue a girl, he pushed her boyfriend down from the 2nd floor and broke his leg. In the end, nothing happened. It's really not strange that he would do such a thing. F***ck, the Ning family is relying on their wealth to raise their son like the crown prince? Why didn't he think about it? Would it be his son's turn to be the crown prince of Yun City? Let me tell you something. A few days ago, something happened to Director Lin. Looking at the time, it happened to be when the Ning family went public. A worker died in an accident. The news was suppressed just like that. Smile. What kind of juicy news is that? I'd like to ask, has anyone here eaten melons from Madam Ning and Dean Lin? Back then, Ning Tai liked Director Lin's husband and used all kinds of methods, but in the end, he just didn't like her, so that's how it is. No wonder Academy head Lin has been criticized recently. My father used to be a student of the Lin Academy. He said that the photo of the adulterer in bed is indeed true, but the matter is very complicated. Back then, Academy Head Lin's husband liked Madam Ning and looked down on Academy Head Lin's family background, so he refused to let Academy Head Lin marry into the family. In the end, Academy Head Lin's husband came and stole the household register. He took Academy Head Lin to get the marriage certificate and even hid it from everyone. Madam Ning claimed to be his fiancée and caught her fiancé stealing the forbidden fruit. In the end, he drove the car. Damn, the hidden marriages of that era are really exciting, dog head. Chapter 339. My mom told me about this yesterday. Dr. Lin's husband seems to have been pursuing Dr. Lin since high school. It wasn't easy for Dr. Lin to agree. How could she listen to her family's arrangement? Moreover, Dr. Lin was young, beautiful, and talented back then. She was very popular. If you don't put in some effort to get a marriage certificate first, she will be abducted, dog head. Yes, I remember that in her second year of teaching, Dr. Lin won an international prize in biology. Her in-laws were so shocked that they didn't dare to continue to show their displeasure. Or is Dr. Lin too low-key that people look down on her? Ha 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 ha, is this reflected in reality? Boo-hoo, I knew it. Dr. Lin is so good. It's impossible for her to do such a thing. Soon. Some of the positive comments about Dr. Lin were liked by several old professors of Yunqing University, which was equivalent to confirming that this matter was true. Suddenly, those who had said negative things about Dr. Lin seemed to have disappeared without a trace. At this moment, Mrs. Ning, who had been called by countless people to express their sympathy, only knew that such a thing had actually happened on the internet. She fell into a state of anxiety, and her expression was ugly. How could this be? Mrs. Ning gritted her teeth and stared at the reports on the internet, as well as the clarification about Dr. Lin. Suddenly, she felt as if there was a mouthful of blood stuck in her throat. How could such a thing happen? Lin Longjun should be the one who was despised by everyone. How could it be her? Just as Mrs. Ning felt cold all over and fell to the ground with a hollow gaze, a pair of black leather shoes suddenly appeared in front of her. Looking up, she saw slender white legs, a simple cut paper school skirt, and an unbelievably beautiful face. At this moment, the eyes looked at her with a faint smile. She squatted leisurely and looked at her playfully. Mrs. Ning, it's the first time we met. My name is Bei Yunj. Mrs. Ning lost her composure and took a step back. It's you. You must have done it. Gradually, Mrs. Ning's expression became fierce. The corners of Pei Yunj's lips curled up as she threw another USB flash drive to her. Post the statement inside online today. What is this? To clarify, Dr. Lin. Bei Yunj curled her lips and said in a casual tone, full of arrogance. Don't even think about it. Mrs. Ning's eyes widened and she wanted to throw the USB flash drive out again. But in the next moment, Bei Yunj threw a stack of photos in front of her. She smiled condescendingly. Madam Ning, think about it carefully. Are you going to send it, or am I? At this moment, Mrs. Ning lowered her head and saw her son intertwined with a man or a woman in the photo. The scene almost made Madam Ning faint. This is fake. You lied to me. Madam Ning's eyes were bloodshot. Whether it's fake or not, won't we know once we let everyone take a look? Bei Yunj smirked, and her clear voice was full of coldness. Last time, young Master Ning came to my birthday party to make trouble. This time, we can settle old and new debts together. No. No way. Madam Ning became agitated. She immediately pulled on Bei Yunj's sleeve and shook her head frantically. Don't send it out. I am willing to clarify. Miss Pei, please spare me. Okay? Lin Jianan and Bei Yunj, who were waiting at the door, saw how Madam Ning lost her composure and knelt in front of Bei Yunj. This was the real devil, Dr. Lin was weak. She didn't expect to see Bei Yunj in the basement. Chapter 340. Why are you here? Director Lin's pupils constricted, thinking that Mrs. Ning had kidnapped her. "Leave quickly, don't worry about me." Bai Yunj saw that Director Lin was drenched and the basement was cold. She knew that Mrs. Ning had done this on purpose. A trace of coldness flashed past her eyes and she covered Director Lin with the thin blanket she had brought and helped her up. Her voice was gentle. "Grandma, I'll take you home." As soon as the Ning family's matter was exposed, someone started to investigate. Apart from the things that had been exposed recently, the Ning family had also participated in many shocking and absurd transactions. As a result, the Ning Corporation had completely collapsed. During this period of time, Qin Yojiao was also focused on practicing the piano. She wanted to enter the International Musicians Association in one go and let the Qin family discover her value again. "Yojiao, I brought you something to drink." Qing Zihuai took the milk tea and placed it beside Qin Yojiao's table. "Thank you." After Qin Yojiao took it, she only took a sip and left it untouched. She said with a smile, "You're first in this monthly exam again. I heard from my teacher that you might be the top scholar in the city next year." Qing Zihuai smiled. "Compared to being the top scholar in the city next year, I hope that I can win the Domestic Computing Award this year." "I believe in you, Zihuai. In the future, you'll go to the computing department of Yun University and I'll go to the music department of Yun University." At this point, Qin Yojiao deliberately smiled at Qing Zihuai. "I wonder what university Yunj will want to study in. Can she get into university with how she looks?" Qing Zihuai's tone was mocking. "I also heard that Yunj signed up for this physics competition and participated with us. Maybe, she's studying hard." Hearing Qin Yojiao say this, the ridicule in Qing Zihuai's eyes deepened. "Yojiao, people who work hard are not like this. People like Bai Yunj just want to be noticed. But in the end, she only made a fool of herself. She's different from us. She can only roll in the mud." Hearing Qing Zihuai say this, Qin Yojiao's hand on the piano relaxed. She was also afraid that the Qing family would favor Bai Yunj more because of what happened at the birthday party last time. Fortunately, since Qing Zihuai hated Bai Yunj so much, Bai Yunj had no right to fight with her. But that's good too. When the results of this competition are out, it's time to let your brothers see who's the real Qin family member. A dark look flashed across Qin Yojiao's eyes when she heard Qing Zihuai's words. She smiled and said, "Zihuai, let me show you my original song from the International Musicians Association." "Sure." Early morning. Bai Yunj saw the news from Tich and Jasmine. The two of them had won the gold and silver medals of the Shinga International Computing Competition, so he was in a good mood. Although the Shinga International Computer Competition was not as prestigious as the Busaka Award in the computer industry, it was still quite valuable. The fact that Jasmine and Tich could win such an award at such a young age showed their potential. When she went downstairs, Bai Yunj suddenly thought of something and opened a group chat for the first time. This group chat was actually a chat software created by Marcus. It was filled with members of the Computing Institute and our nation's Computing Institute. Soon, everyone in the group chat received a large wave of red packets. "Red packet, congratulations. Red packet, congratulations. Red packet, congratulations." Everyone was speechless. Chapter 341. He was out. What was going on? Without hesitation, those who were fast had already gone to receive the red packets. Because Marcus did not set the amount when he made the software back then, everyone was so scared that their legs almost turned to jelly when they saw that the red packets they received were all in the thousands. He had sent more than 10 red packets, and each red packet was worth hundreds of thousands. Wasn't he too King generous? So, in the hearts of the two members of the Big Boss Computing Institute, they could not help but add a suffix. God of Fortune. Soon, Marcus came out. "Marcus, God of Fortune, what's wrong with you?" "It's nothing. I'm just happy that a student won an award." Marcus, who saw the message, was speechless. Just now, Tich and Jasmine had been crying and complaining to him that their teacher was too strict. After receiving the award, their teacher had only replied with a "yes, I understand," in a cold and elegant manner, as if it was something very normal. In the end, she was a fanatic behind his back. Unfortunately, as interns, Titch and Jasmine could not enter the group chat yet. Marcus resisted the urge to take a screenshot and send it to Titch and the rest. From the corner of his eye, he realized that there were too many red packets and they had not been collected. So in the next moment, his fingers slipped and he snatched the red packets together. He completely forgot about Titch and Jasmine, who were still immersed in grief. Bei Yunj went downstairs and was about to go out before she had breakfast. Yun, have breakfast first. Hwashidu had a feeling that this little girl had been a little busy recently. Even at home, she was nowhere to be seen. Brother, I have something on. The moment Bei Yunj finished speaking, another voice suddenly sounded from the door. Yunj, are you ready to leave? Bei Yunj turned around and saw that it was Ji Yiqing. Why was he here? Bei Yunj furrowed her eyebrows. Elder Zhong asked me to pick you up, Ji Yiqing said with a smile. Hearing this, Bei Yunj understood. Uncle Zhang, who often picked her up recently, had something on, so he asked Elder Zhong to arrange for someone to pick her up. However, she did not expect Elder Zhong to ask Ji Yiqing to come over. I have to eat breakfast first. Bei Yunj looked at Hwashidu and thought for a while before speaking again. That's just nice. I haven't eaten with Master Du for a long time. At this moment, Ji Yiqing looked like someone who couldn't read other people's expressions. Although Bei Yunj knew that Hwashidu and Ji Yiqing were old acquaintances, she could feel that Hwashidu didn't seem to want to see Ji Yiqing that much. But since she was here, there was no reason for Ji Yiqing to wait outside. Brother, do you think? Bei Yunj looked at Hwashidu. Suddenly, Hwashidu laughed and reached out to pinch the back of her neck affectionately. His tone was light as he said, Yun, go and eat first. Brother Yiqing is old and his waist is not very good. I'll get Aunt Miao to prepare some food for him to nourish his body. Ji Yiqing, he had injured his waist during a mission. What nonsense was Hwashidu spouting? However, the next moment, Bei Yunj looked at him with more respect and pity. Then I'd better take a taxi. It's not good for my waist to drive for too long. Ji Yiqing's handsome face darkened. It's okay. I'll arrange a chauffeur for you later. The man's lazy and magnetic laughter sounded. Ji Yiqing put on a fake smile. The injury from the previous mission has already healed. Master Du, you don't have to worry so much. Is that so? I saw that the Ji family arranged a blind date for you. I thought that you were old and your waist couldn't recover, so I was preparing earlier. Chapter 342. Hwashidu's words made Ji Yiqing's reputation even worse. It was as if Ji Yiqing was trying to save face and refused to admit it. Bei Yunj's expression was clear and she did not say much. Ji Yiqing put on a fake smile. In the past 2 years, the Hua family seems to have been busy with the selection of a young madam. Hwashidu's posture was light and lazy. He slowly poured a glass of milk for Bei Yunj and looked at Ji Yiqing with a faint smile. Yes, young Master Ji, think about it. Why is that? For a moment. Ji Yiqing still did not understand what Hwashidu meant. After that, until Bei Yunj finished breakfast and was about to leave with Ji Yiqing. Brother, did I leave my rubber band in your room? The rubber band that Bei Yunj had been using these few days was new, but it had disappeared within 2 days. However, when Ji Yiqing heard this, he looked at Hwashidu in surprise. He did not expect the two of them to be so close. Okay, come and get it yourself. Hwashidu was holding a document in his hand. Actually, he could have gotten the rubber band for Bei Yunj, but Bei Yunj did not think too much about it. She walked over and reached into the man's suit pants pocket. However, after searching for a while, Bei Yunj changed to another one, but she could not find the rubber band. At this moment, the handsome and noble man stood there leisurely, allowing the girl to lower her head and touch his waist intimately. He was very indulgent. It looked ambiguous and intimate. However, Ji Yiqing saw the man's gaze fixed on him with a faint smile. Ji Yiqing was speechless. He wanted to scold him. What should he do? Yun, why are you touching him? Young Master Ji is still here. The man's magnetic voice deliberately dragged out the last syllable. It was light and ostentatious, making people blush and their hearts race. Ji Yiqing resisted the urge to scold him. Bei Yunji's eyes also moved slightly, not knowing what to say. Then, before Pei Yunj could walk away, the man suddenly chuckled softly. His magnetic voice was slightly filled with a bewitching ambiguity. I'll get it for you. He took out a black rubber band from his suit pocket and slowly tied the girl's hair in front of Ji Yiqing. After you're done, Yun, come back early. I have something important to tell you. After getting out of the car, Ji Yiqing also completely understood why Hua Shidu wanted him to think about the reason why the Hua family no longer looked for young madam. Because now, Hua Shidu's family was raising one. What happened? Bei Yunj glanced at her wristwatch and confirmed that there was still time. Because the requirements for interns in Country R's Computing Institute were very strict, the system was different from the Computing Institute. The interns in the Computing Institute could vote and choose the instructor to give public lectures. Bei Yunj, on the other hand, became the most ideal mentor for the interns because of the huge patent fees and Marcus's high regard for her. Today, Bei Yunj was preparing to give these interns a public lecture. That was why she came over so early. It's fine. Ji Yiqing took a deep breath and experienced the difficulty of matchmaking. He looked at Bei Yunj. Do you come to the Computing Institute often? When Bei Yunj heard this, her hand, which was about to take out her identity card, paused and she silently retracted it. Occasionally. Bei Yunj put the identity card back into her pocket and stopped at the entrance to register before entering with Ji Yiqing. The security guard was puzzled. Why didn't Miss Pei use her pass today? Chapter 343. After entering the Computing Institute, Zhong Xinglin warmly pulled Ji Yiqing down and had a long talk with him. He used his eyes to signal Bei Yunj to leave quickly. Before Ji Yiqing could say anything, he turned around and realized that Bei Yunj was nowhere to be seen. Inspector, where is Miss Pei? She might have gone to water the flowers for me. Children nowadays are very patient. They like to help the elderly. Zhong Xinglin laughed heartily. Ji Yiqing's eyelids twitched and he did not ask further. She specially came to the Computing Institute just to water the flowers? At this moment, Bei Yunj was indeed watering the flower buds of various countries. However, the flower buds that were being watered began to tremble. Everyone was happy and excited when they found out that the class was going to start today. They walked into the conference hall in high spirits. However, someone casually asked Tich what a typical teacher needed to prepare for class. Tich replied that he would be scolded. Everyone suddenly realized that this matter was not simple. If you think that the content is too simple, you can leave the conference hall. I don't want people to whisper to each other. Bei Yunji's clear voice did not have any warmth. Everyone had mixed feelings. The interns, who were considered outstanding newcomers, suddenly understood why Tich and Jasmine were so arrogant and frivolous when they first entered the Computing Institute. But now, they only knew how to hold a thermos and often stood by the window with a face full of vicissitudes. Right now, looking at the entire scene, it seemed that only Tich and Jasmine could keep up with Bei Yunji's rhythm. As for the others, they had already started to kneel. As for the discussion just now, some people were secretly asking Tich what the teacher was talking about. The class ended in a thrilling manner. Jasmine and Tich gulped down a few mouthfuls of hot tea and a piece of American ginseng to refresh themselves. They relaxed completely. Seeing this skillful unified action, everyone was shocked. They were indeed the first and second in the institute. They were too persevering. If they attended a few more classes, they would be able to ascend to the heavens. Therefore, from this class onwards, the interns in the institute developed a shadow over Bei Yunj. Tich, are you guys always like this in class? Tich's numb and empty eyes gradually woke up. He said amiably, "That's not it. Today's content is indeed simpler than before. Maybe it's because I don't want to make it difficult for you." The interns? Wasn't that difficult? Suddenly, everyone felt sorry for Titch and Jasmine. What kind of life were they living at the Calculation Institute? Some people could go out with their mentors to ride bicycles and drink to relax. Some people had to suck on a piece of American ginseng after class, as if they were hanging on by a thread. Why don't you all change teachers? He was very good. He was young and outstanding. But if he continued to follow, he would lose his life, right? It's okay, I can do it. I can prove to my teacher that I can. Titch waved his hand and focused on fighting Bei Yunj. Everyone, sure, this was a case of one willing to hit and two willing to suffer. After class, Bei Yunj's good mood in the morning was completely gone. It just so happened that Marcus called. "Gu, how was class? Are you happy?" "Bei Yunj," Marcus continued to ramble on and on, "following you to class is indeed very effective. Titch and Jasmine have really improved too much. Look, they even won the Shinga International Prize." Just a minute ago, Bei Yunj had even checked the Shinga International Prize. After confirming that it wasn't some random prize, he was relieved. P.S. There are at least 5 or 6 more chapters. Sleep early. Good night. Chapter 344. After all, she had specially sent a red packet to the group in the morning. "Next time, don't look for me for this kind of public class." "What's wrong? You're the number 1 chosen by the institute. You're a popular top instructor." Bei Yunj said casually, "Titch and Jasmine are enough." Okay, as you wish." Of course, Marcus would listen to Bei Yunj. Not long after hanging up the phone, Bei Yunj received a text message from Du Xiao. "The registrar sent you a copy, but you don't have to worry about it. Just check the last 2 rounds." After all, more than 1,000 people had signed up this time. After the first round, only 200 people would be left. In the next few rounds, they would slowly filter them out. After Bei Yunj replied to Du Xiao, she saw Ji Yiqing in front of her. "Hasn't that mission been going on for more than a year? Since it hasn't been settled yet, why are you still so free?" Bei Yunj asked unhurriedly. "The third comrade just went undercover into the gang center yesterday." Ji Yiqing smiled and stared at her. "I don't know why, but I feel safe with you." Bei Yunj said casually, "Call me if you need anything." "It's the same." "So, Miss Pei, you know him?" Ji Yiqing looked at her with a smile. His intuition told him that Bei Yunj was related to him. But no one would think that an ignorant and incompetent high school student and the one who had a patent fee of 10 billion yuan could be the same person. "Whether I know him or not, there won't be any change in your perception." Bei Yunj changed the topic and asked as if she had nothing to do, "Do you know how the first and second comrade were discovered?" Ji Yiqing shook his head helplessly. "The first comrade just entered the inner circle and died on the 3rd day. The other comrade also died about half a month ago." Bei Yunj stopped in her tracks and turned to look at him. "The third comrade also entered the inner circle?" "Yes, he just entered last night." Ji Yiqing nodded. Bei Yunj quickly thought of something. She looked up and said, "Ask him to come back immediately." Ji Yiqing was slightly stunned. "Why? Did you implant the spy with a monitoring chip?" Bei Yunj's question surprised Ji Yiqing. "Yes. If he doesn't come back soon, you can prepare the 4th spy." Bei Yunj looked at him with a faint smile, but there was no warmth in his eyes. "But our chips can't possibly be discovered." Ji Yiqing frowned. After all, no one had discovered it for so many years. If there isn't a mole in the R&D department, then it must be the chip. Bei Yunj smiled lazily. "There are already 2. Whether there will be a 3rd one or not is up to you to decide." Ji Yiqing had also said that the gangs seemed to have technicians supporting them from behind. Every time they reached a critical moment, they would know what they were doing in advance. In that case, it was also very likely that the spy had been spied. Let him come back now. Ji Yiqing's eyes darkened as he clenched his fists. The two people in front, have you performed an autopsy? Bei Yunj asked. Yes, the chip is also intact. Ji Yiqing nodded. Bei Yunj's eyes darkened. Let's perform an autopsy on the second one. Those people wouldn't be at ease to let a person jump around in their nest for half a month after knowing that he was a spy. However, whether Ji Yiqing could find any traces of them depended on luck. In the evening, Bei Yunj also left the computing institute. Chapter 345. Ji Yiqing's eyes darkened. He thought for a while and finally made a call. Brother Ji, what's wrong? Hui was monitoring the internal situation of the gang with his colleagues through the monitoring chip. Ask Bao to come back. Now. Hui was stunned. Why? Bao just went in. Ask him to come back quickly. Don't make me repeat the order a second time. Ji Yiqing's gaze was cold. Brother Ji, because of this case, you've been reprimanded by the higher-ups many times. We've already lost 2 brothers. If you ask Bao to come back now, won't you be a coward? Won't you be making a joke out of us? Hui was unhappy, but he quickly thought of Bei Yunj. He could not help but say angrily, did Bei Yunj say that? Brother Ji, who is that woman? Why do you have to listen? Ji Yiqing's tone was cold. Give the order again and ask the spy to come back. Those who disobey will be kicked out of this mission. Instantly. Hui fell silent. The female colleague who heard it immediately gave the spy an order. After settling this matter, Ji Yiqing called the forensic doctor again and said in a gentle tone, Hello, I'm Ji Yiqing. Can I trouble you to do the autopsy again? Bei Yunj sat in the car and used her iPad to draw a human body. Finally, her gaze landed on the head and teeth. She moved the tip of her pen slightly and drew a circle on the head as she muttered to herself. Is it here? After getting out of the car, Bei Yunj saw that there was no one in the living room and thought that she had come early, so she went upstairs to take a shower. However, she did not expect that just as she took off her clothes and was taking a shower in the bathroom, the man would push open the door and sit by the French window. The man with noble eyes was focused on the document in his hand. After a while, he noticed a faint movement. Someone was there. Huashidu frowned. The first person he thought of was Bei Yunj. Did this child forget that the bedroom had just been changed back yesterday? Just as Huashidu stood up and was about to walk over to take a look, he stopped in his tracks. He felt that it was better to leave the bedroom. But in the end, just as Huashidu turned around and was about to leave, a girl who was drenched all over and only had a white towel draped over her body as she dried her wet hair appeared. The towel was only casually draped over her body, partially covering the important parts of her body, but it made one's blood boil. In particular, the girl's figure was extremely good. Even her ankles made people feel sexy. For a moment, the two of them looked at each other. Bei Yunj's hand paused. She didn't scream, but her mind exploded. Huashidu was the first to react. He restrained the darkness in his eyes and quickly turned around. 1 or 2 seconds later, there was an almost imperceptible hoarseness and helplessness in the man's voice. Why aren't you going back to get dressed? He didn't expect that this young lady would dare to come out with only a towel. Bei Yunj calmly picked up the clothes and walked back. However, as soon as she returned to the bathroom, she realized that she had forgotten to take something very important. Bei Yunj, she glanced at the translucent top. Underneath it was a close-fitting spaghetti strap. She didn't think she could go next door like this. Brother. Bei Yunj gently pushed open the bathroom door and called out tentatively. Huashidu, who was about to close the bedroom door, paused. What's wrong? I forgot to take my clothes. Veins popped out on the back of Huashidu's hand that was holding the door handle. His Adam's apple bobbed as he suppressed those thoughts that he shouldn't have. What do you need? Chapter 346. Underwear. Bei Yunja's voice also stiffened. When Huashidu noticed it, he also found it funny. You want all of them? Bra. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, she silently closed the bathroom door. But then she realized that as long as she went out to get a clean towel, changed her clothes, and covered herself, it might not be as awkward as it was now. Bei Yunj, forget it, she had already said it. So, just as Bei Yunj was feeling relieved, she suddenly thought of the terrible scene of this man opening her closet and choosing a bra for her. She had really sinned. Bei Yunj suddenly felt a sense of guilt, as if she had touched the flower of a high mountain. But on second thought, she had also secretly kissed him. This sin seemed to have been committed a long time ago. Soon. Just as Bei Yunj was letting her imagination run wild, there was a knock on the door. Yun. Bei Yunj opened the door from the inside and saw the man's slender hand reaching in with a black bra. This sharp color difference was dazzling. It was also inexplicably lustful. When Bei Yunj took it, she turned to look and saw the man's handsome side profile. He was dressed in a neatly tailored suit, looking refined and cold. However, it formed a strong contrast with this lustful and ambiguous atmosphere. He was like a god who had been pulled down from his altar. Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes. After taking the important item, she felt that it was hot to the touch. Especially when the man picked up the shoulder strap just now. I'll go out first. Okay. Bei Yunj immediately changed her clothes. At this moment, Huashidu, who had already closed the bedroom door, was no longer as lazy as usual. Just now, Huashidu stood at the door and called Auntie Meow. He had wanted Auntie Meow to come and get it for Bei Yunj. After all, this was a little girl's personal clothing. As a man, he should not touch it. However, he did not expect that Auntie Meow had just been called over by the old madam to discuss cooking. In the end, he could only go and get it himself. After more than 10 minutes, Huashidu did not see Bei Yunj come downstairs. Then, he received a message from her. Brother, if there's anything important, let's talk tomorrow. Huashidu could not help but chuckle softly. His voice was filled with joy and was magnetic and pleasant to the ears. After that, he knocked on Bei Yunja's door and stood at the door with a casual smile. Brother has something to do, so he has to go back to the company. Yun, hurry up and go downstairs to eat. Bei Yunj, are the communication tools invented by humans no longer useful? Did he have to come upstairs? 10 minutes later, Bei Yunj saw the voice message from Auntie Meow. She clicked on it without hesitation and heard Auntie Meow's hearty laughter. Miss, I'm so sorry. I forgot to take your measurements and make clothes for you. I didn't even know that your clothes are too small. Mr. Hua just called and asked me to bring someone to take your measurements. How about tomorrow afternoon? You're too small. His eyesight was really good. He could tell at a glance that it was small. Bei Yunja's beautiful eyes couldn't help but twitch, but her entire body froze. Was it too late to go out and strangle that dog of a man? The next day. Back at Hengda. Master Pei, what's wrong? Why do you look like a little girl who has been bullied? Lu Yuanci snatched her phone away and opened the maps of the gods. He said with fighting spirit, come, let's experience the most realistic life and death friendship. Not interested. Bei Yunj did not snatch the phone away. Instead, she sat down and leaned on the table, preparing to sleep. She did not sleep yesterday. It was either because of nightmares or because she could not sleep. Chapter 347. What's wrong? You've been acting weird these few days. Lu Yuanci suddenly became kind and started to care about his deskmate. It's nothing. I just realized that it's not bad to get first place. Bei Yunj held her head and twirled her pen with her slender fingers in boredom. When Lu Yuanxi heard this, he looked at Bei Yunj with even more pity. Wasn't this too exciting? She was actually dreaming. Actually, it's not bad to be at the bottom. Their scores are real, and so is our friendship. Bei Yunj was speechless. Then, the boy behind couldn't help but laugh. Master Pei, don't think about getting first place. Think about what you're going to do for the physics competition this afternoon. This afternoon? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Yes. Oh right, you asked for leave the other day. The boy nodded. Lu Yuanxi smiled. Does our Master Pei care about when the exam is? Everyone is actively tutoring for the physics competition. This one skipped all classes in order to finish school on time. Bei Yunj glanced at Lu Yuanxi coldly and turned to continue sleeping without saying a word. Lu Yuanxi was speechless. She really didn't even expect to cram at the last minute. Master Pei, it said that the physics competition started because of Leia. If you score in the single digits, you might make the headlines. Lu Yuanxi's eyelids twitched. He didn't forget about the monthly exam results that made the headlines. The public was too harsh on Bei Yunj. Just because she was the daughter of Director Lin, it was as if she should always get first place. Okay. Bei Yunj responded casually. It was unknown whether she was full of confidence or just in the mood to play. Leia, you'll definitely get first place in the physics competition this time. After all, you even got second place in the Raphael competition. No one can say for sure. Just do your best. Leia's bad mood improved a little in the face of so much attention. Some time ago, Maps of the Gods had terminated the contract with the Lei Corporation and even announced the cooperation with the Qin Corporation. This matter, which was expected by the public, even made the headlines once. As for the Lei Corporation, it had become the shame of Maps of the Gods. Sister Yojiao, aren't you also participating in the competition? I look forward to it. Leia turned around and smiled coyly at Qin Yu. At this moment, Qin Yojiao's hand that was flipping the book froze. She knew how strong Leia was in physics. Even Qing Zihuai might not be able to compare to Leia. She smiled. You're an expert in this area. I can't compare to you. Seeing Qin Yojiao and Leia being humble to each other, the people around them could not help sighing. The relationship between the great gods is so harmonious. That's right. Anyway, isn't first place between the two of them and Qing Zihuai? Damn, now that you've heard about it, this year's physics competition is too scary. All of them are gods. Suddenly, someone laughed sarcastically. Isn't that so? Anyway, Hengda has already reserved the first and last places. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone understood who he was referring to. Wasn't that the fearless immortal from Class 7? He didn't know where she got the courage to sign up. Did she think that the Qin family would buy her a ticket for this physics competition? At this moment, when the two people who were arguing in front heard the discussion behind them, their moods immediately improved. Yes, no matter what, they could watch Bei Yunj make a fool of herself. Sister Yojiao, do you still want to return to the Qin family? Leia suddenly asked. Chapter 348. Qin Yojiao put up the physics books and said to her with a smile, I heard that you went to see my grandfather a few days ago. When I'm free, I'll bring you back to the old mansion to stay for a few days. Leia did not expect Qin Yojiao to say this. It was as if she had just gone out casually and would return to the Qin family after a while. Can you still go back? Leia looked cold, but she was actually a little nervous. Compared to Qin Yojiao, she actually hoped that Bei Yunj was the Qin family's eldest young Miss Moore. After all, Bei Yunj did not pose any competitive pressure to her. However, Qin Yojiao was different. Even without the Qin family, she could still receive an invitation to the Nearly 18 debutante ball. Some people can't hold on to that position, Qin Yojiao said. At noon, Ji Yiqing could not help but call Bei Yunj. After the call was connected, he quickly expressed his gratitude. Miss Pei, thank you so much this time. When the forensic doctor examined the deceased's head, he found a minimally invasive injury. He pursed his lips. Later, I found out that the piece of human skin had been transplanted. There was a chip inside that had already been scrapped. At that time, they hoped that the deceased could leave with dignity, so they did not conduct an in-depth examination. However, they did not expect to miss a major discovery because of this. Is the third person back? He's already back, but if he leaves for too long, he will definitely be discovered. Ji Yiqing furrowed his eyebrows. Why don't we send the chip to the Computing Institute first? As for the third spy, the chip suggests that we remove him first. Ji Yiqing was also very hesitant. Actually, this chip was also a guarantee for the spy. If they found anything unusual, they could order them to be recalled at any time. I understand. Ji Yiqing clenched his fists and could not help asking, will you take a look at the chip? Elder Zhong will. With that said, Bei Yunj hung up. At this moment, Ah Hui was stunned. He did not expect that the spy had really been spied. This chip was almost certainly used by the criminals to monitor them. These people are too sinister. Ah Hui could not help gritting his teeth. However, he also wanted to know why the spy did not know that he had been implanted with a chip. Had he been instigated? That was impossible. If that was the case, why did the two spies die after being exposed? Ah Hui, be more respectful to Miss Bei Yunj in the future. Ji Yiqing couldn't help but say coldly when he recalled Ah Hui's attitude towards Bei Yunj. This time, it might just be a coincidence. Ai Hui could not help but retort. Coincidence? Why is it that out of so many people in this investigation operation, none of them are coincidental? I'm warning you, don't kill a few more people because of your loose tongue. Ji Yiqing was completely enraged, and the veins on his fair arms were faintly bulging. After all, the ones who left this time were Ji Yiqing's two friends. Ai Hui was also shocked and didn't dare to say anything more. In the afternoon, the people who signed up for the physics competition got on the school bus and prepared to leave for the competition venue. Along the way, someone couldn't help but laugh softly. Bei Yunj actually dared to come. She's too awesome. She's being praised by Class 7. She's really whimsical and thinks that she's a peerless genius. Someone snickered. Now that she's on the B-roll, I wonder if she can break the record and get the lowest score in history. The discussion on the bus continued all the way, and even the leading teacher's expression did not look too good. However, who knew that when they got off the bus, someone not far away exclaimed, Master Pei, what's wrong with you? Chapter 349. When everyone heard this, they turned around and saw a very young and handsome man. He walked over from the teacher's group with a smile on his face. The teacher in charge of Hengda was stunned for a moment and quickly stuttered, Professor. Professor C? He was a professor of the computer science department at Yunqing University and also the youngest professor in the entire university. When he first started working 2 years ago, he had even gone viral on the internet once. Because he was good-looking and had become a professor at such a young age, he was simply the perfect male lead. Si Qingyan did not hear the voice beside him clearly. He only glanced at the school bus and then at Bei Yunj. He couldn't help but laugh. You died prematurely, is this a place you should come to? Si Qingyan suppressed his smile and deliberately chased her away. Hurry up and go back. Seeing that Si Qingyan seemed to be very familiar with Bei Yunj and could even joke casually, the smiles of the people who were mocking Bei Yunj stiffened. This was a computer science professor at Yunqing University? How did Bei Yunj know him? Could it be that he was also Director Lin? But this professor was so young. He didn't look like he was from the same generation as Director Lin. I'm here to participate in the competition. Bei Yunj's beautiful eyebrows moved as she pointed at the sign not far away. National High School Physics Competition. Did you see it clearly? Si Qingyan couldn't help but laugh. Master Pei, are you human? You won't even let this competition go? Bei Yunj was speechless. It wasn't that she didn't want to let it go. In her previous life, Bei Yunj had skipped grades too quickly, so the competitions she participated in later were all world-class. It was indeed her first time participating in such a national high school competition. Hearing these two chatting as if there was no one else around, the others felt that they were in a fantasy. This seems to be the very popular computer science professor at Yunqing University. What does he mean by that? Someone couldn't help but discuss. The girl beside her was envious. Did you hear what Professor C shouted just now? Master Pei. F***ck, I didn't think much of it when I heard the people from Class 7 call her that. But when Professor C calls her that, it sounds inexplicably doting. Yeah, why do the two of them look so familiar with each other? At this moment, someone said weakly, don't you think there's a problem with Professor C's words just now when he asked Bei Yunj not to participate in the competition? Somehow, he felt that there was a deeper meaning behind those words. What problem could there be? Professor C must know Bei Yunj's capabilities and asked her not to come over. However, no one thought about it in any other way. They were just envious that Bei Yunj had a hospital director as her grandmother. She actually knew so many big shots in the academic world. However, seeing this, Cheng Zihuai's expression changed. He did not expect Bei Yunj and Si Qingyan to have such a good relationship. After all, when he was at the Computing Institute, he had tried all sorts of ways to gain Si Qingyan's favor. However, Si Qingyan had always been reserved in front of him as a genius professor. Although Cheng Zihuai could accept this, what was going on with Bei Yunj? Why was even Si Qingyan shouting such a ridiculous title? Just like those ridiculous hooligans from Class 7, they praised Bei Yunj to the skies. Leia could not help but ask, Zihuai, is Bei Yunj very close to this professor? Although Leia, who had just transferred, was also targeting Yunqing University, she did not know which professor there was. Cheng Zihuai's handsome face was ugly. He did not answer this question and only said gloomily, let's go. No matter what their relationship is, Bei Yunj can only be at the bottom. Chapter 350. After entering the venue, Si Qingyan muttered from the side, you didn't participate in the competition the old master signed you up for and insisted on participating in such a competition. In the future, when she attended an event in the Computing Institute, she was introduced as the winner of the K.Z. Busaka competition. She was great. First place in the National High School Physics competition. Wasn't it embarrassing? Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved. I didn't sign up for this. Hearing this, Si Qingyan immediately understood. Another student who had been tricked. However, Hengda probably didn't even know that they had accidentally poached a god. Alright, then, do well. Anyway, you're all prepared. At this moment, Si Qingyan remembered his duty as an invigilator. Suddenly, Bei Yunj paused and was silent for a while. Brother Yan, I don't think I brought a pen. Si Qingyan was speechless. A few minutes later, Si Qingyan borrowed a pen from upstairs and gave it to Bei Yunj with a pained expression. There was actually someone who forgot to bring a pen for the competition? Thank you. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. Bei Yunj had also finished lunch and had yet to return to class when she was pushed onto the school bus by Lu Yuanci and the rest. After the exam, the candidates who came to participate in the competition left the examination hall one after another. On the way, people were discussing. It's really King B paper. This is too difficult. Why is it so difficult? Someone was about to suffocate. Because the second place in the previous Raphael competition transferred to Hengda to participate in the physics competition, the paper was changed at the last minute. 1 2 3 4 5 The person beside continued to explain, however, I said during the exam that the last few big questions were set according to the standards of the Raphael competition. There are also basic questions in front. Amazing. I'm participating in an ordinary physics competition and I can actually meet a big boss who participated in the Raphael competition? The person who heard the explanation had a look of despair. Hongda is indeed the top high school in Yuncheng. They even recruited such a big boss. I estimate that they can enter 3 of the top 5 this year. Qing Zihuai from year 3 and Qin Youjiao from the Qin family are both participating. Besides, they're all the best in physics. No way. Hearing the discussions from the other schools, the students of Hongda all raised their chins and walked out of the examination hall with pride. Even so, they didn't do well in the exams. Before long. In the school bus. The teacher in charge gently handed Leia a bottle of mineral water and said with a smile, "How was the competition this time?" Seeing this treatment, the others couldn't help but be envious. However, unexpectedly, after Leia took it, she pursed her lips and did not look too good. "I didn't finish the last 2 major questions." Hearing this, the others also sucked in a breath of cold air. It was normal that they couldn't understand it. Leia couldn't do it either. The person who came up with this question was too ruthless. The teacher in charge froze. He did not expect that even Leia could not solve the last question. She couldn't help but panic. Even the second place in Raphael's competition was in Hongda. If the winner of the competition was not a student from Hongda, wouldn't Hongda become a joke? Then, what about you, Zihuai? The teacher looked at Qing Zihuai hopefully. The last question is a little gambling. Qing Zihuai frowned. However, when the teacher in charge heard Qing Zihuai's words, he heaved a sigh of relief. Chapter 351. Everyone looked at him enviously. They did not expect Qing Zihuai to be so capable. Even Leia could not help but take a few more glances at Qing Zihuai and smiled. "Zihuai, you're amazing." With that said, Qin Youjiao, who was behind him, remained silent and her expression did not look too good. Originally, she was one of the top students in the cohort, but she only did 3 small questions in the back. Even if she got all of them right, she could only get more than 10 marks. At this moment, a year 3 girl could not help laughing. "Teacher, what are you afraid of? Anyway, we're last in the competition. No one can snatch it from our school." With that said, everyone instinctively looked at a certain person in the front row. Although they did not say it, they agreed with her in their hearts. Why was a bad student here to join in the fun? Wasn't she embarrassing Hongda as well? Hearing this, the teacher in charge did not say anything, but her eyes swept over Bei Yunj, who was playing with her phone, unkindly. Bei Yunj had just turned on her phone when she saw Si Qingyan in the group chat. An official member of the Computing Institute, Si Qingyan, "Ha ha 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 ha, I'm laughing so hard. Guess who I met when I was invigilating the exam? Zhong Xinglin? Dean?" The others also sent a series of question marks. Si Qingyan, from now on, is no longer an ordinary person. She is the winner of the 32nd National High School Physics Competition. As soon as this news was released, it attracted a lot of questions from the members. What was going on? She even participated in such a competition. Did she not plan to be a human anymore? Dean. Take care. Researchers should cherish their own feathers. Bei Yunja's eyelids twitched and she turned off her phone. It must be fate. However, Si Qingyan was still talking non-stop. Si Qingyan, I'll never forget that after Master Pei finished writing the paper in more than 10 minutes, before she could sleep on the table, she heard the boy next door wonder why this question was so difficult. That kind of disdain and complicated gaze, Si Qingyan, an old Zhou from my school saw Master Pei sleeping. Sigh, why is another one useless? Si Qingyan, in the entire examination hall, only, is sleeping seriously. I can't take it anymore. Ha 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 ha. When they returned to school was almost over. Lu Yuanci asked casually, how did it go? Yeah, it's just a so-so. Bei Yunj was calm and collected. Lu Yuanci, that's it. Could it really be single digits? If he had known earlier, he would have encouraged Chubby Chu to take the exam instead of Bei Yunj. That night, after the exam, the question setter held a thermos flask and appeared in high spirits at the exam area. "How is it? My standards are good, right? Let alone second place, even if Raphael was first place, he wouldn't be able to get full marks." The bald male teacher was in high spirits and had a rosy smile on his face. In the past few years, the standard of the exam papers was getting worse and worse. As a matter of fact, he still had to ask him to come out if there were any slightly better students. However, no one had expected that Hengda would recruit a student who had won a prize in Raphael's competition. The young teacher next to him poured tea for him and couldn't help but compliment, "Teacher Huang, you're still the most respected person in the hearts of the students. We have to learn from you in the future." Just as the two of them were chatting happily, the teacher, who had worked hard to mark the papers, felt strange when he saw a paper with sloppy handwriting. Then, the more he corrected it, the tighter his heart became. Chapter 352. He suppressed it for a long time before he managed to stop himself from blurting out vulgarities. Even his mind was in a mess. "What's going on, oldie?" The young teacher turned his head and asked the teacher who was marking the papers. This oldie was usually the calmest. Why was he so flustered today, as if he had encountered a ghost? Damn, the teacher was still immersed in his own world and could not extricate himself. "What's wrong? The student's score is too low." Teacher Huang walked over and patted the young teacher's arm. He smiled and said, "It's very normal. I've been setting papers for so many years and no student has ever gotten full marks. After all, he was the number one in the physics circle." No, the teacher said in a daze, "This student seems to have full marks," as soon as he finished speaking. The young teacher and Teacher Huang, who were chatting happily just now, froze. Immediately, they went to look for the paper. How is this possible? The standard of the students in Raphael's competition is so high. Teacher Huang picked up the scrawled paper and looked carefully at each question. He felt as if he had been struck by lightning. "Teacher Huang, this can't be, right?" The young teacher looked at Teacher Huang's expression and had a bad premonition. However, even he might not be able to get full marks on this paper. How could a student get full marks? Is it the second place in Raphael's competition? Teacher Huang gradually found his voice and asked with a trembling voice. "I don't think so. The second place student in Raphael's competition is not from this examination hall. This student, I don't know where he came from." At this moment, in an office building of a certain university, someone had gathered all his energy and wanted to finish marking all the papers as soon as possible to see who this student was. To be able to get full marks on Teacher Huang's competition paper, this was a talent that the university was fighting for. 12:34, the next day. It was the weekend. Bei Yunj went to see Old Master Qin early in the morning. Old Master Qin knew about what happened to Director Lin some time ago and asked with concern, "How has Director Lin been recently?" Bei Yunj nodded. "Pretty good, Grandpa." She had already gone to look at the house and bought a high-end apartment for Director Lin. Otherwise, if she really bought a villa, Director Lin would definitely not be able to live in it. After all, it had taken Bei Yunj a lot of time to move her into the high-end apartment. That's good. Old Master Qin smiled and looked at Bei Yunj. He sighed and said, "Our gu is so beautiful." Bei Yunj stopped flipping through the book. "Grandpa, what's the matter?" Old Master Qin rubbed his hands together nervously. "A few days ago, Lang came looking for me. He said that there's a family game competition and he hopes that I can participate. Then you should participate." Bei Yunj said slowly. She remembered that Old Master Qin and Qin Lang had fallen out a lot because Qin Lang had taken the path of esports. This time, it was probably Qin Lang who wanted to improve his relationship with the old master. Why don't you go? This is something you young people like to play. How can an old man like me play games? Old Master Qin looked at Bei Yunj eagerly. "Grandpa, I'm about to take the college entrance exam. How can I have so much time?" Bei Yunj said with a smile. Old Master Qin, no matter who said this, it would sound like it was the case. But when it came from his granddaughter, it was a little too perfunctory. I don't need much time. Anyway, if I lose, your third brother is useless. Old Master Qin was too stubborn. Chapter 353. Bei Yunja's eyebrows twitched as she rubbed the cover of the book with her fingertips. She was not interested in this kind of thing that appeared in the public eye. Suddenly, the phone rang. Bei Yunj immediately stood up. Grandpa, have a good rest. I have something to do, so I'll go back first. Seeing that Bei Yunj refused, Old Master Qin could only watch her leave. After Bei Yunj walked out, she saw that the person who called her was Zhong Xinglin. Zhong Xinglin did not say much over the phone. He just asked her to come to the institute. At the computing institute. The moment Bei Yunj entered, she entered the laboratory and saw Zhong Xinglin's serious expression. What's wrong? This was the first time Bei Yunj saw Zhong Xinglin looking for her so anxiously. There's something wrong with this chip. Zhong Xinglin's gaze stopped on the sealed chip. His expression did not look too good. Something was sent over just now. It's for you. For me? Bei Yunj glanced at the cardboard box at the side and saw that the recipient was indeed her. Recipient, however, this mail was obviously not sent by a regular courier company. Because there was no sender. Bei Yunja's eyes flickered. She laughed again and prepared to open the cardboard box. Why don't you not touch it first? Zhong Xinglin stopped Bei Yunj, afraid that there was something messy inside. It's okay. Bei Yunj picked up the scissors and slowly opened the cardboard box. The moment the cardboard box was opened, the rotten smell inside filled the air. Inside was a tongue that had been cut off and a pair of bloody eyeballs. 1/18-inch Zhong Xinglin's expression changed. He immediately wanted to throw this scary thing out. Let Ji Yiqing deal with this thing. Bei Yunja's upturned eyes were slightly suppressed. She did not show any emotion. She found the tape and sealed it again. No one knew if this was one of those people who had died in the dark. But now, it was clear that, through the undiscarded chips, those people knew that Ji Yiqing and the others were asking for help from the Computing Institute. He was also threatening. However, they didn't dare to go too far and didn't want to compete with the Computing Institute. After all, offending these people at the top of the computer field would not end well. It was very likely that they would end up in a life and death struggle. You'd better not interfere in this matter. Zhong Xinglin frowned. He was still worried about Bei Yunja's safety. The thing he didn't want to see the most still happened. Bei Yunja's beautiful eyebrows curved slightly. She chuckled slowly, but her anger gradually grew. Where did all these ignorant people come from? After saying this, Zhong Xinglin had an inexplicable premonition that some things were going to be tricky. Elder Zhong, ask Ji Yiqing to send me a copy of their information. I want all of it. Bei Yunj curled his lips at Zhong Xinglin. His smile did not reach his eyes, but it sent chills down one's spine. Okay. Zhong Xinglin had a feeling that Bei Yunj was going to cause a big commotion again. The huge patent fee last time and the maps of the gods later had already become surrounding news in the circle. Now, new gossip had popped up again. Scientific research upstarts and terrorists fighting each other in a bizarre manner? It was really puzzling. How could this ancestor's temper be so bad? I still have to remind you that this matter is too dangerous. Chapter 354. For now. Other than the Computing Institute in our nation and the internal staff of the Computing Institute, very few people knew that it was Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj thought for a moment. I'll be careful. Zhong Xinglin was speechless. Did he mean that she should be careful? He was telling her not to get involved, all right? However, compared to Zhong Xinglin, who had racked his brains, Ji Yiqing heaved a long sigh of relief when he received the news. Finally, he managed to invite her over. Will she really help us? Hui was also very curious about this person. Although there were many people in the scientific research field who had high praises for her on the internet, this person had not even revealed her face. She has already asked us for a copy of the information. Ji Yiqing also felt that things were a little different from the plan. He kept feeling that her initial actions were a little too fast. It was not until quite late that Bei Yunj left the computing institute. For the past few days, she had been deliberately avoiding a certain someone. However, the person who was avoided was not in a hurry. Instead, he patiently waited for the young lady to stop being awkward. At the dining table. Yun. The man suddenly called out. Bei Yunj instinctively looked up. Yes? Immediately. Before Bei Yunj could react, the man's slender and well-defined hand was already close to her cheek. He casually tucked her black hair behind her earlobe. The ticklish contact made Bei Yunj inexplicably shiver. When she looked up, she accidentally met the man's dark eyes. She instinctively looked away, as if her gaze had been burned. However, the man chuckled and said casually, "Your hair fell into the bowl." Bei Yunj was speechless. Why was he paying attention to other people's hair when he was eating? 187. A certain someone seemed to know what she was thinking. His gentle and noble eyes were thin and seductive. Brother likes to look at our Yun no matter what. Bei Yunj was speechless. Our Yun is cuter than other girls when she's awkward. The man smiled unhurriedly. Bei Yunj said, "Let's eat." The next day, Bei Yunj took the chip out of the glass box and examined it. It's just a broken chip. Can't you just destroy it? Si Qingyan couldn't help but ask as he watched from the side. Who knew? A dark light flashed across Bei Yunj's eyes, and she suddenly chuckled. It's a gift from him. It would be a waste to reject it. Before Si Qingyan could feel puzzled, he saw Bei Yunj throw the chip into the equipment and analyze the data on the computer. Isn't your system different from the one given by the institute? Si Qingyan realized the problem. Bei Yunj said lazily, "Yes, I made it myself. It's more convenient." At first, Si Qingyan had yet to understand how this was convenient, but after about 20 minutes, before he could react, he saw Bei Yunj attacking something. Wasn't this guy researching the chip just now? The next moment, Bei Yunj answered his doubts. Soon, she pulled out 2 recording files and played them. It was a recording of the conversation between the 2 spies. The second recording did not stop. Other than the conversation between the spies in the gang camp, even the conversation between Ji Yiqing and the forensic doctor was recorded. Obviously, this was a scheme by those people. That was why it was exposed. You can even do this? Si Qingyan was about to lose it. He thought that everyone was doing academic research, but what was Bei Yunj doing? Chapter 355. How did you get these 2 recordings? Si Qingyan still felt like he was dreaming. Then, he saw Bei Yunj throw the chip into the blender after copying the data. It's in their computer. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and said casually. Her actions were much more arrogant than those gang members who secretly recorded Ji Yiqing and the rest. Si Qingyan felt like he was living in a sci-fi blockbuster, but then he saw that this person had no intention of stopping. What are you doing again? Si Qingyan had yet to accept reality and asked stiffly. Analyzing their exact location. Let's go and eat. The system will automatically test it later. It will take some time. Bei Yunj's words made Si Qingyan feel like he was someone who had never seen the world. They were both computing students and were both in the computing institute. Why was there such a huge difference? Was this the reason why Bei Yunj was old Master Zhong's favorite? When did you learn this? Si Qingyan asked shamelessly. When I was young. I forgot a little. Bei Yunj thought for a while and said. In her previous life, Mother Pei was afraid that Bai Yunj would go out and cause trouble, so she was very strict with Bai Yunj. Bai Yunj was either in the laboratory or surfing the internet at home. However, unexpectedly, it was precisely because of this that Bai Yunj started to develop a strong interest in all fields of computing. At the same time, it also caused a huge commotion online. Si Qingyan cursed. A person who was not even 20 years old said that she was quite young. How young was she? Haha. This unfair world. The next moment, Si Qingyan, who was full of resentment, leaned over and asked sneakily, Master Pei, can you give me a copy of your system? I won't tell anyone. If you want it, go and copy it later. Bai Yunj glanced at him. If the others in the institute want it, they can come and get it. Si Qingyan shook his head crazily and said righteously, no, they can only come and get it when I'm familiar with it. Bai Yunj, then, when this specific location is detected, won't your mission be completed? Can you tell Ji Qing and the rest? Si Qingyan sighed. Technological criminals nowadays really thought that no one could deal with them. She even tried to provoke Bai Yunj by sending over human organs. In the end, the word cowardice did not exist in this ancestor's dictionary, and no one liked to curb violence with violence more than her. What the ancients said was right. Evil people had to be dealt with by evil people. What's the hurry? Their headquarters are at the border area of country R. It will take some time to deal with them. Bai Yunj chuckled. His eyes were cold. Si Qingyan's eyelid twitched. He had underestimated Bai Yunj's vengeful nature. They had already set their sights on the gang headquarters, afternoon. In the director's office. Zhong Xinglin was sitting on the sofa pouring tea when he saw Si Qingyan walk in distractedly. What's wrong? Go has solved the chip's problem? Si Qingyan was speechless. Yes. Does that chip have any other uses other than monitoring? Si Qingyan said, I don't know either. Zhong Xinglin stopped what he was doing. Then how did she solve it? She used the chip's data to hack into the gang's computer and even obtained the complete recording of the undercover. With that said, Zhong Xinglin's hand trembled and he almost spilled the tea. She was doing this in the morning? Zhong Xinglin froze. Chapter 356. Not really. Her self-made system is already analyzing the exact location of the gang. Currently, there are 3 snow hiding areas and 1 gathering area. Si Qingyan smiled at Zhong Xinglin. You really found a treasure. I think that compared to the safety of this ancestor, you should be more concerned about her bad temper. The branch threatened her and now she's going to destroy their overseas headquarters. Si Qingyan's eyelid twitched. The most suffocating thing was that he really thought that she could do it. Zhong Xinglin was speechless. No one thought that this matter would develop in such a different direction. Forget it. Let her do it if she likes it. Zhong Xinglin calmed down and said slowly. After all, it was fine as long as the person in trouble was not Bai Yunj. Si Qingyan was speechless. Look, all of them were already indulging Bai Yunj to this extent. It was simply twisted love. The next day. Because it was the day the results of the physics competition were released, many people were very excited. Especially Class 1. I heard that our grades dean has already followed the principal to prepare to receive the teacher giving the award. Someone said excitedly. Hearing this, the girl who was still doing her questions glanced sideways in surprise. The award is being given today? Isn't it usually only the results at this time? Wasn't this year's physics competition a little too rushed? Yeah, maybe it's because someone did too well. With that said, that person glanced at Leia, who was playing games, enviously. Leia was good-looking and good at gaming. She was even so good at physics. Many boys in the class had defected and turned from infatuated with Qin Yojiao to infatuated with Leia. After all, girls who knew how to play games and were good-looking were more down-to-earth to them. Really? I heard that the Year 3 teachers are calculating the scores of the students who went to participate in the physics competition. The highest scores are Ching Zihui and Leia, about 70 to 80. Aya, this competition paper was set by Teacher Huang. How high do you want it to be? Since a teacher came to our school to give the award, it means that the first place must be in our school. With that said, the girl raised her chin arrogantly. It's either Leia or Ching Zihui. At this moment, the girl who was closer to Qin Yojiao suddenly laughed. Her tone was full of mockery. Did you calculate Bei Yunji's score? After all, he's the first person from Class 7 who dares to participate in the competition. I'm really looking forward to it. Don't joke around. The teacher hasn't even entered the 7th class yet, but he still calculates the marks for Bei Yunji. Do you think it's not embarrassing enough? The few girls felt superior and laughed mockingly. They simply looked down on the people from Class 7. In Class 7, other than the 1 or 2 who wanted to get a scholarship through Class 7, the rest were all trash. Compared to Class 1, Class 7 was the same as usual. Only Lu Yunci and a few others would comfort Bei Yunji from time to time. They were all people who relied on their looks to make a living. Why should they compare their IQ with others? Chu Zhixing's attitude remained unchanged. He said seriously, I think Master Pei will definitely be fine. If Master Pei wanted to do well, he might be better than Leia from Class 7. However, when the people around heard this, they looked at Chu Zhixing with complicated gazes. Brother Chu, you're one of the few top students in the class. Can you stop talking nonsense all day long? Lu Yunci's eyelid twitched. I'm telling the truth. Chu Zhixing glanced at Bei Yunji, who was sleeping on the table, and continued, Master Pei is much better than me. Chapter 357. Lu Yunci was speechless. It turned out that Fatty Chu was not bragging on purpose. He was really a brainless fan of his deskmate. During the flag-raising ceremony, all the students in the class gathered in the field. They also saw the teachers who had come to give out the award. Teacher Yi, it's been hard on you all the way here. The dean's face was full of smiles. No, your school is also full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Your school has 2 of the top 3 places in this physics competition. Teacher Yi looked at the dean meaningfully. You really can't underestimate them. Hearing this, the smile on the dean's face became even brighter. Is that true? Looks like our students have put in a lot of effort. To have such good results, you probably can't just rely on hard work. Teacher Yi sighed. After the full marks paper was graded, Teacher Huang, who had graded the paper, did not sleep the entire night. After all, Teacher Huang had been grading papers for more than 10 years, and this was the first time he had encountered a failure in the industry. That's right, that's right. The Dean of Teaching didn't understand what Teacher Yi meant and could only agree. A hint of sarcasm flashed across his eyes, but he suddenly changed the topic. Teacher Yi, it must have been hard on you to grade the papers this time. I wonder, how is our school's lowest score? Your school's lowest score is not bad. The other schools have even lower scores. Teacher Yi smiled and patted the dean's shoulder. You've already given our competition teachers such a big surprise. Why are you still so humble? When the dean heard this, he felt that these words were a little strange. 70 to 80 points was considered a surprise? After thinking about it, the dean accepted this statement. After all, Teacher Huang had issued several national papers back then, and even the national average score was only 40 to 50 points. He heard that because of this, Teacher Huang was almost beaten up by his parents. Suddenly, Professor Si, why are you here too? Teacher Yi saw Si Qingyan from afar. I love Chinese network. Si Qingyan put down his phone calmly and smiled. It's nothing. The results of this competition are not bad. I came to take a look. Teacher Yi, ? A person who even escaped from the grading paper had the cheek to mention results? Do you know what the highest score is this time? At this moment, When the dean saw Si Qingyan, his eyes lit up. This was the youngest professor in Yunqing University. Si Qingyan did not notice anything and was still sending messages to the Computing Institute's group chat. Member A, has it started? Has it started? Si Qingyan, I haven't seen her yet. Wait for me to secretly take a photo later. Si Qingyan, everyone, don't you want to see the precious video of her winning first place in the National High School Physics competition? Member A, I want to see it. Give me a checkup. Member B, I want to see it +1. Ha 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 ha. I didn't expect such a day to come. Zhong Xinglin. Si Qingyan, Professor C. When the dean's friendly voice sounded, Si Qingyan was so frightened that he almost dropped his phone. He glanced at the dean of teaching, and his expression did not look too good. What's wrong? I heard that Yun University is planning to recruit specialized students. How would I know? Si Qingyan gave a fake smile. His face darkened when he saw that someone was standing in the best position he had chosen. The dean sensed Si Qingyan's impatience and could only change the topic. It's really hard on Professor C to invigilate this competition. At this moment. Chapter 358. Then let's not talk too much. Let's start the award ceremony. With that said, Professor Zhou, who was beside her, had already picked up the honorary certificates of the 4 winners with the principal and the rest. And the principal was holding the honorary certificate of first place. Then, when the principal opened the honorary certificate with a smile, thinking about how to praise Leia, he froze when he saw the name clearly. This certificate is, after the principal regained his senses, he felt like he had been struck by lightning. Then, he immediately pulled Professor Zhou, wanting to ask for an explanation. Principal, don't be too happy. It's not time to give the award to the first place yet. Professor Zhou nudged the principal with his arm and teased. The principal's face twitched a little. He was about to go crazy. Who was written on the certificate in his hand? The principal suspected that he was presbyopic. With trembling hands, he mustered up the courage to open the certificate again. In the end, he saw the name clearly again. Was he really not joking with him? The principal's expression was not very good. His eyes drifted past the last few people in Class 7 who were talking and finally landed on the lazy and bright girl. The form teacher of Class 7 thought that the principal found their class too noisy and immediately reprimanded Lu Yunc and the rest. Don't talk. They're giving out the award on stage. Lu Yunc glanced at Bei Yunj and patted her shoulder to comfort her. Bei Yunj was speechless. At the same time. 6th place, Qin Youjiao, 69 points. When Teacher Yi announced this result, everyone below the stage was in an uproar. What the F***CK? She got 6th place with 69 points. You're wrong. There won't be many high marks when Teacher Huang Qi sets the paper, let alone full marks. Someone who knew Teacher Huang patted the shoulder of the boy who was in a state of shock. Yes, and because of Leia, Teacher Huang directly used the B paper. The B paper has always been more difficult than the A paper, not to mention that it's his paper. Hearing this, everyone understood that the candidates this time had suffered a grievance that they should not have suffered. This was too ruthless. The top 10 only had such low marks. Not only were the people watching the show, even Qin Youjiao, who had won 6th place, did not look too good. She bit her lip. He felt that this matter was a disgrace. She had never received such a low score in her entire life. Jiao Jiao, you did pretty well. You came in 6th place. After that person comforted her, he changed the topic and sneered meaningfully. Think about a certain someone who participated in a competition but couldn't even stand on the podium. Everyone around them knew that this person was none other than Bei Yunj. However, hearing this, Qin Youjiao's expression improved slightly. She clenched her fists and walked up the stage with a faint smile. Although her score was a little low, she had originally expected to be in the 4th or 5th place, so her ranking wasn't too far off. Moreover, no matter how many marks she got, Bei Yunj would never be able to compete with her. After that, when Qin Yojiao walked up the stage, the people around her started to compliment Leia again. Yaya, if it's not you, it's Cheng Zihuai. That's right, that's right. Yaya is good at this. Hearing these words, Leia could not suppress the pride and smile in her cold eyes. Vanity rose in her heart. I didn't do well in this competition either. Actually, even if I got second place, before Leia could finish her sentence, she heard the teacher announcing the results. Third place, Leia, 76 points. Chapter 359. The voice on the rostrum sounded clearly and strangely in the entire field. Everyone fell silent. The smile on Leia's face did not disappear in time. F***ck, Leia is third? The other students could not help but exclaim. These words also made Leia's body stiffen and her face turn green and red. However, she quickly looked up and stared at the teacher on stage. She still could not believe this fact. How was this possible? How could she only be third? Leia gritted her teeth. Her legs seemed to be filled with lead and she could not move. Maybe the second place is from another school? Someone guessed softly. Since the first place was from their school, it could only be Cheng Zihuai. But other than Cheng Zihuai, who else had the ability to beat Leia? After all, she was the second place in Raphael's competition. Suddenly, someone who was also thinking about this problem noticed the certificates in the hands of the principal and Professor Zhou. He exclaimed, "No. Look, the teacher has 2 certificates in his hands." With that said, the atmosphere seemed to have fallen into a stagnant state again, making people feel extremely strange. So, the second place was also from Hengda? At this moment, someone asked weakly, So, our school took all the top 3 places? Everyone fell silent. They had a subtle premonition. Was there going to be a dark horse today? Even Leia only got third place. Then what kind of god was the second place? For some reason, the entire school was in a state of excitement. After all, compared to a stable top student, everyone was more willing to see a dark horse appear out of nowhere. Moreover, this dark horse was too ruthless to be able to surpass Leia. At this moment, Yen e-book. In the entire school, only class 7 was in a state of nothing to do with me. Anyway, no matter who it was not from their class. I'm so tired. Brother Wen, can I go back and rest? The boy called out to the form teacher carelessly. Teacher Wen's eyelids twitched. His heart was pierced. Other students went on stage to receive awards, but his students found it tiring to stand below the stage. Bear with it, it's almost over. Teacher Wen looked at his watch and sighed, his eyes filled with sadness. Alright, don't make old Wen sad, Lu Yuanci said as he elbowed the boy next door. Bei Yunj was the only one who participated in this competition. It was impossible for her to get a good ranking. Originally, if Chu Zhixing went over, he might have been able to get old Wen a place. Thinking of this, Lu Yuanci couldn't help but look at the lazy girl beside him. At this time, the teacher on the stage announced the results again. Second place, Cheng Zihuai, 78 points. Teacher Yi nodded in satisfaction and praised, "You did very well." As soon as he finished speaking, the people who were still discussing were all stunned. Their faces were about to crack. Wait, what did they just hear? Cheng Zihuai was second? Was the world a fantasy? F***ck. F***ck. What kind of operation is this? Cheng Zihuai is the second? Someone couldn't help but curse. What impression did Cheng Zihuai have in Hengda? The unshakable status of a prodigy. Therefore, it was not surprising that he could surpass Leia. But what kind of immortal could actually kill Cheng Zihuai? This is too crazy. Someone started whistling and clapping. God! The strongest dark horse of the year. The first person to tear Ching Zihuai apart is awesome. The audience laughed and jeered, while Ching Zihuai's expression was extremely ugly. Chapter 360. Initially, when he heard from below the stage that someone had beaten Leia, he was a little surprised. However, he did not expect to be beaten as well. Ching Zihuai's handsome face darkened, but he could only walk towards the rostrum, looking as if he had been greatly humiliated. At this moment, not only the students, even the teachers were stunned. Hengda was hiding such a dark horse? Beast. Immortal. She actually beat Ching Zihuai. She's indeed a ruthless person. Lu Yuanxi thought of his deskmate who didn't seem to like him saying, beast, so he changed his words. With that said, he turned to look at Chu Zhixing, deliberately mocking Ching Zihuai. Brother Chu, guess who might be first? Master Pei. Chu Zhixing did not hesitate. It was so tiring to talk to this fatty. Ching Zihuai patted Bei Yunji's shoulder and could not help but ask, Master Pei, guess who's first? Bei Yunj frowned and said leisurely, I guess it's me. Lu Yuanxi was speechless. Why did these two come to school instead of taking their medicine? At this moment, even Teacher Wen rubbed his hands enviously and couldn't help but sigh. How nice. He didn't know which form teacher had led a dark horse student halfway. Suddenly, on the stage, Teacher Yi smiled and the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes deepened. I heard everyone's discussion and I know that everyone is curious and wants to know the score of the first place. Then let's announce it now. First place, Bei Yunj, 100 points for the competition. As soon as he finished speaking, the venue fell into a dead silence. Teacher Wen, who was rubbing his palms, froze and looked up abruptly. On the other hand, Lu Yuanxi, who was about to wake Pei Yunj up, choked on his words. What did that mean? Cool. Who was first place? Suddenly, someone couldn't help but exclaim, first place? Full marks. Bei Yunj? Was this a joke? It shouldn't be Bei Yunj. Soon, Ching Zihuai's expression changed and he looked at Bei Yunj mockingly. He sneered without saying anything. She was really something. She even had the ability to get first place in the competition. But did she not think that anyone would be stupid enough to believe her? Bei Yunj cheated. Teacher, I want to report you. This isn't fair. How can Bei Yunj be the champion? That's right, how could she be number one? And full marks? Are people nowadays so arrogant when they cheat? Someone said indignantly. Especially the people in Class 1, their emotions were especially intense. If you don't know how to speak, then shut your mouth. Lu Yuanxi's cold voice slowly sounded with a warning tone. For a moment, those who wanted to mock Bei Yunj did not dare to provoke Lu Yuanxi, so they could only shut their mouths. Does she have the face to accept the award? If she's not allowed to talk about it, then she shouldn't have done it. The male straight-A student who had a grudge against Bei Yunj before had a gloomy look in his eyes and a mocking smile on his face. There was actually such an idiot. He actually cheated and got full marks. At this moment, on the stage, the principal was also very embarrassed. The dean's face was even darker. It was this Bei Yunj again. Even if she cheated and got first place, what was the use? With so many teachers from famous schools here, she was still embarrassing Hengda. Professor C, this matter is due to the bad character of our Hengda students. They cheated openly. I apologize to you on behalf of Hengda, the dean said through gritted teeth. Chapter 361. The dean did not notice anything unusual. Instead, he suppressed his anger and apologized with a fake smile. Yes, but Professor C, you don't have to report this matter to the higher-ups. Why don't you cancel the results and let Hengda settle it themselves? In such an important exam, once someone was found to be cheating, they would go to jail. However, if Bei Yunj was really arrested because of this, not only would it affect the other high-ranking students, but it would also affect Hengda's reputation. Dean, you're very biased against student pay. Si Qingyan glanced at him and sneered coldly. Yes, before the dean could react, he instinctively agreed. Then, he felt that something was amiss. What do you mean? Just because the students below the stage shouted that they cheated a few times, you can come to a conclusion without any investigation? Si Qingyan's tone was cold and mocking. Is it because Hengda has always treated its students like this, or do you have any special opinions about me, the invigilator? The dean's expression was ugly and he panicked. No, Professor C, you've misunderstood. How would I dare to have any opinions about you? He had never expected Si Qingyan to have such a reaction to this matter. The others couldn't hear their conversation either. Look, Professor C's expression is so bad. Bei Yunj must have cheated. What else? Everyone knows what level Bei Yunj is at. It's not like Hengda is crazy to protect her at this time. Someone could not help but mock. How could there be such a stupid person in this world? Even cheating had to be known by everyone before he was satisfied. At this moment, Teacher Wen hurriedly walked to the dean and braced himself. Dean, actually, this might be a misunderstanding. Previously, Teacher Zhao in our class said that book bag net. Bei Yunj has potential. She might be able to surprise everyone. If there's really a misunderstanding in this matter, it can be resolved. Teacher Wen had long known that the dean did not like Bei Yunj, but what if something happened to Bei Yunj in his hands? Who knew? The next moment, the dean turned around mischievously and said with a smile, "Congratulations, Teacher Wen. Your student has gotten first place. You're really lucky." After saying this, Teacher Wen's entire body trembled, and he looked at the teaching director with an extremely shocked expression. Did he take the wrong medicine? He actually had such an attitude. Next, just as everyone on the field was discussing heatedly and Qing Zihuai was waiting for Bei Yunj's decision, the dean of teaching stood on the rostrum. I hope that all of you will not slander others for no reason. If you think that anyone is cheating, you can call them immediately and leave a complaint to the competition organizer. The smiles on the faces of the people who had just mocked Bei Yunj froze when they heard the dean's stern words. What was the dean talking about? Did Bei Yunj still need someone to check if they could get first place? Isn't this obvious? The awards ceremony will continue. Any student who disrupts this grand occasion will be given a demerit. After the dean finished speaking, Qing Zihuai and the others, who were standing beside him, had already turned green and red. They were extremely embarrassed. What? If the award ceremony continued, wouldn't that mean they were going to be Bei Yunj's foil? Chapter 362. Teacher, Leia clenched her fists and was about to speak when Qing Zihuai stopped her. Qing Zihuai looked expressionless, but his tone was cold. Don't say any more. After the next exam, she'll spit out everything that needs to be spat out. Leia immediately understood when she heard that. The midterm exam was in a week. If Bei Yunj's physics results for the midterm exam were still the same as before, 20 to 30 points. Wasn't it clear how this result came about? Seeing Bei Yunj's lazy eyes, as if she had a clear conscience, Qing Zihuai and the rest looked even more embarrassed. Student pay, your certificate. All the best. The principal's hands were stiff as he tried his best to appear very loving. However, the atmosphere on the stage had already reached the peak of strangeness. Bei Yunj had already gotten full marks in the competition. Wasn't this fantastical enough? Many people felt that this scene was ridiculous and ironic. Suddenly, I'm not here. Why are you giving the student an award? Everyone turned around and saw Teacher Huang walking over with a dark expression. Everyone was excited. Teacher Huang was the person who was the least afraid of power and hated cheating. This time, he would definitely expose Bei Yunj's true colors. Everyone seemed to have vented their anger as they quietly waited for this scene to arrive. Who's first? Teacher Huang glanced at Teacher Yi, his tone ambiguous. Meanwhile, the smiles on the faces of Hengda's principal and teachers, which were already uglier than crying, were successfully broken. It's over. Even Teacher Huang was here this time. Hengda was going to be dragged down by Bei Yunj. This is Bei Yunj. Teacher Yi said gently. Teacher Huang frowned and his gaze landed on Bei Yunj. The girl's eyes were lazy and bright. Her beautiful eyes were curved, and she didn't look like a good student. You did very well this time. You're the first person to score full marks in the past 10 years that I've been setting the exam papers. Hearing Teacher Huang's words, Bei Yunj's eyes flickered and she did not say anything for a moment. Si Qingyan, who was beside her, almost couldn't help but laugh out loud when he saw Bei Yunj's strange and complicated gaze. Master Pei had really been wronged. His own student had won the International First Class Shinga Computer Competition Award, but it was not enough. At this moment, he was being praised because he had won first place in the National High School Physics Competition. The scene was too realistic. Thank you. Bei Yunj was silent for a long time. In the end, he could only reach out and pat him on the shoulder as encouragement. Mr. Huang, the principal was speechless. Everyone present, Si Qingyan couldn't hold it in anymore. He turned around and laughed until his shoulders trembled. Ha 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 ha. What kind of deity was Master Pei? Good luck to you too. I've seen your paper. The way you solved the questions is very unusual. Which teacher did you learn from? Teacher Huang was a person who loved talents. In the face of a talent like Bei Yunj, he was unbelievably kind. Bei Yunj said, Mr. Zhong Xinglin. Si Qingyan was speechless. Does old Master Zhong know about this? Mr. Zhong? No wonder when Elder Zhong was still in high school, no one could compare to him in science. A great teacher produces a great student. Teacher Huang nodded emotionally. His voice was neither too loud nor too soft, but many people present heard it clearly. Who? Mr. Zhong Xinglin? Could it be that Elder Zhong had given Bei Yunj a question this time? Some time ago, Elder Zhong had come to Hengda once, so Hengda had introduced him to the students. Such an outstanding researcher was tutoring Bei Yunj? What kind of good luck did Bei Yunj have? Chapter 363. For a moment, some people began to waver. Could it be that Elder Zhong had personally prepared the questions for Bei Yunj? Was that why she could do so well? However, most people still didn't believe it. No matter how powerful Elder Zhong was, everyone knew very well what kind of useless person Bei Yunj was. How could a student who usually scored 20 to 30 marks get full marks in the competition? This wasn't a monthly exam paper, but a competition paper. A competition paper written by Teacher Huang Qi. The teachers of Hengda had different thoughts, but seeing that the principal didn't say anything, they all shut up. Until the end of the award ceremony. Bei Yunj was quickly called to the office. Other than Teacher Zhao Yi, who taught Bei Yunj, the dean of teaching and the principal were also there. Representative, your results are real, right? Teacher Zhao Yi smiled. He wasn't doubting that her results were fake. It was just that he had always felt that Bei Yunj's results couldn't be only 20 to 30 marks. Previously, when he was punishing Bei Yunj by copying Bei Yunj's answers, he saw that Bei Yunj had finished copying once and then started to write from memory. With such amazing memory, did she look like someone who only scored 20 to 30 marks? Bei Yunj, how did you get the answers to the competition? The dean of teaching's voice was especially harsh. Director, I'm talking to my student. Can you please stop? Zhao Yi rolled his eyes without giving him any face. The dean of teaching was so angry that his face turned green and red. His student had done such a thing, and he still dared to defend her? Teacher Zhao, don't waste Bei Yunj's time, the principal reminded him. Hearing this, Zhao Yi cursed even more. If he didn't want to waste Bei Yunj's time, why didn't he ask her? Wasn't he just afraid that the Qin family would settle the score with him? Representative, just say it. I believe you. Zhao Yi turned his head and leaned back in his office chair with a smile. Number 5 Bei Yunj said calmly, "You guessed right, Teacher Zhao." When Zhao Yi heard this, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Good girl. He was almost led by the nose by Bei Yunj. All right, you can go back. You have to take the exam properly next time. Teacher Zhao Yi glanced at her and said calmly. Hearing this, the dean looked unwilling. Mr. Zhao Yi, aren't you too biased towards Bei Yunj? Before she could finish her question, she heard Bei Yunj say lazily, "Goodbye, teacher." Shortly after, Bei Yunj did not even look at her and left immediately. It was as if he, the head of teaching, didn't exist. Zhao Yi, are you going to let her go just like that? The dean was furious. Zhao Yi stopped drinking his tea and slowly glanced at him. You still want to treat her to a meal? The head of teaching, you. In any case, I believe my students. If you don't believe me, you can ask them yourself. Alright, I still have to mark the homework. Please be quiet for a while, director. After saying that, Zhao Yi began to pretend to mark homework. Seeing this scene, the principal was silent for a moment. Subsequently, the principal said, "Let's wait until next week's exam." When the dean of teaching heard this, he immediately reacted. That's right. If Bei Yunj really had this ability, her results for next week's physics exam would not be bad. On the other hand, it would prove that her results were fake. The dean of teaching thought of this and felt relieved. Chapter 364. After school. Bei Yunj was held back and was not allowed to leave. She glanced at Lu Yuanxi. What's the matter? To celebrate your first place today, let's go eat something. With that said, Lu Yuanxi hooked his arm around Chu Zhixing's neck. Isn't that right, Brother Chu? Chu Zhixing's first reaction was to look at Bei Yunj. Yes. Master Pei, do you want to go? Without waiting for Chu Zhixing to finish speaking, Lu Yuanxi covered his mouth and smiled. Enough. She doesn't want to hear the last sentence. Bei Yunj, she didn't know what these two people were up to. At the barbecue stall, Bei Yunj glanced at her surroundings and had the urge to turn around and leave. You said you'd treat us here? This was the first time Bei Yunj came to a roadside stall to eat. Lu Yuanxi nodded matter-of-factly. Isn't it good? The grilled eggplants here are delicious. Bei Yunj's eyes moved. I still have something to do, or, Master Pei, don't embarrass me. Lu Yuanxi immediately stopped her with a handsome smile. Even the girls passing by couldn't help but take a few more glances at him. In the end, Bei Yunj was still sitting at a square table full of barbecue. Here. Seeing Lu Yuanxi hand the coke over, Bei Yunj glanced at the beer in his hand. She didn't say anything and silently took it. Otherwise, if Hushidu smelled the alcohol on her when they went back later, who knew what would happen? Don't give little Chu any alcohol. Bei Yunj glanced at him warningly. Lu Yuanxi, he could already imagine what would happen if his deskmate had a son in the future. Then, Lu Yuanxi didn't forget to get to the point. Master Pei, your results can't be real, right? So among the three of them, he was the only one who was really a bad student? In the past, he had been mocking Bei Yunj? Bei Yunj's hand stopped and she looked at Lu Yuanxi again. She didn't say anything. But this gaze already said everything. Lu Yuanxi almost cursed. This was actually real. Brother Lu, actually, Master Pei didn't do it on purpose. Chu Zhixing quickly explained. Unexpectedly, Lu Yuanxi turned his head and asked, So, you already knew? Chu Zhixing fell silent. Lu Yuanxi, out of three people's friendship, there would always be one extra. Bei Yunj suddenly said, I never said that my grades were bad. Lu Yuanxi. So, was she blaming him for placing too much trust in the exam results? After a while. After Lu Yuanxi calmed down, he started to seriously study. Otherwise, when he asked questions, would Bei Yunj and Chu Zhixing think he was stupid behind his back? Thinking of this, Lu Yuanxi looked at Bei Yunj and Chu Zhixing with an even colder gaze. Bei Yunj and Chu Zhixing, at this moment. A few people from the neighboring school sat at the table next to them. Do you know the boy who quit school for his girlfriend in grade 2 class 4? The boy asked mysteriously. I know. Back then, it was such an uproar and grand occasion. Another person shook his head. Many girls in our class felt that the boy was very infatuated. Infatuated my ass. That person continued to sneer. Do you know? That boy came back last week. His class asked for a long time before they found out that his girlfriend was crazy. She scared him back. Because the conversation at the table next to them was not soft, Bei Yunj, who was closer, also stopped and her gaze darkened. Chapter 365. Sick. What kind of sickness can she have? She's the prettiest girl in the 6th class and it's her first time in a relationship. The boy laughed suggestively. What are you thinking? Of course it's not that kind of illness. It's something that runs in her family. She's mentally ill. The boy pushed him and continued, if you're sick, why are you in a relationship? Who are you trying to kill? Bei Yunj picked up the chopsticks in her hand casually. There was no emotion in her eyes. Isn't it too noisy? Lu Yuanxi sensed that something was wrong with Bei Yunj. No. Bei Yunj rested her chin on her hand lazily. Before her elbow could touch the table, Lu Yuanxi stopped her. Then, Bei Yunj saw him take a piece of tissue and put it under her elbow. He glanced at Bei Yunj in disdain and said, it's all oily. Why did he come here if he disliked it? Bei Yunj did not think much of it. Instead, she remembered what had happened that night and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, no one knew what had happened that night. After returning home, Bei Yunj went upstairs to take a shower. Sitting in front of the desk, scenes from her previous life appeared in her mind. One moment, it was that woman's gentle face. The next moment, it was that woman who seemed to be crying and laughing at the same time. Her eyes were gloomy as she strangled her and asked her if she wanted to die with her. When she was young, she hated that woman called Meng Ying. Because of that woman. Even her gentleness was fake. Whenever that woman went crazy, she would be covered in injuries. Sometimes, it would be smashed. Sometimes, it would be burned by cigarette butts. But every time she woke up the next day and saw that arrogant woman crying in front of her, she could not help but walk in front of her and hug her gently. But from then on, Bei Yunj knew for the first time that she was a failure. Meng Ying and that man's marriage was a failure. If it were not for her grandfather's insistence, she might not have survived. Bookish. But what Bei Yunj did not expect was that the woman was dead. The day before her 18th birthday. Meng Liang bought new kitchenware and texted Bei Yunj that she wanted to make a birthday cake for her. However, when Bei Yunj returned home, she saw Meng Liang putting an overdose of medicine into the cake with her own eyes. However, the next day, the cake made by Meng Ying fell to the ground. On the table was a box of chocolates and a teddy bear that Meng Liang had prepared. Meng Liang was dead. There was also a letter left for Bei Yunj on the ground. Before long, Bei Yunj heard a knock on the door, which pulled her back from her memories. Yin. Bei Yunj's expression was clear. She turned her head and said, Huh? What's wrong? The man's magnetic voice came through the bedroom door. Let's go downstairs for dinner. After Bei Yunj came back to her senses, she walked to the door and opened it. As soon as she looked up, she saw a tall and handsome man standing at the door. When Bei Yunj saw that he hadn't left, she instinctively asked, Brother, what are you doing here? I'm waiting for you to go down with me. Huashidu's casual gaze landed on Bei Yunj. He suddenly reached out and gently placed the back of his warm and slender fingers on her forehead. Yin, are you not feeling well? Bei Yunj raised her head and looked at him. No. Hwashidu felt that the temperature on the little girl's forehead was normal and did not say anything. However, he still noticed that Bei Yunj was not interested. After going downstairs. Chapter 366. Yunyan, are the dishes not to your liking today? The man suddenly spoke. No. Bei Yunj looked up instinctively. Maybe I went to eat with my friends after school. I see. Then, brother will accompany you to shop later? As soon as Hwashidu finished speaking, Bei Yunj's phone screen lit up. Bei Yunj glanced sideways and saw the caller ID clearly. Ji Iching. Before Bei Yunj could answer, she saw Hwashidu reach out even faster and hang up naturally. Hwashidu curled his lips. If there's anything, let's talk tomorrow. Bei Yunj. Okay. On the other side, Ji Iching was confused because the call had been hung up on. Had he been hung up on just now? Could it be that he had accidentally offended Miss Pei in the past 2 days? Bei Yunj, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, turned to look at him. Brother, where are we going? The man's side profile was superior, and his handsome eyes were noble and lazy. His shirt was rolled up elegantly, revealing a small section of his elegant forearm. I'll take you to relax. Bei Yunj was stunned for a moment, then quietly looked at the scenery outside the car window. Not long after, Bei Yunj arrived at the entrance of an archery club. President Hua. The lady at the front desk saw Hwashidu bringing a young girl over and could not help but be surprised. Then, she asked respectfully, are you too? Yes. Then, miss, please follow me. The lady at the front desk smiled and led Bei Yunj to the changing room. However, she could not help but be curious about the relationship between this overly beautiful girl and Hwashidu. After all, this was the first girl President Hua had brought. After changing, Bei Yunj followed the lady at the front desk into the room. Don't you need to get the bow? The lady at the front desk reacted and smiled. No need. President Hua has left 2 bows with us. Someone has already gone to get them for you. Bei Yunj did not expect Hwashidu to come to this place often in the past. However, after thinking about it, Bei Yunj remembered that she had accidentally touched the man's firm and muscular abdomen last time. It did seem like he had been practicing all this time. It felt good to the touch. It was hard, and he wondered what it would be like if he took it off. After Bei Yunj came back to her senses, she quickly diverted her attention to prevent herself from thinking too much. Miss Pei, President Hua is over there. The receptionist reminded her. Bei Yunj followed her gaze. Seeing the way the man held the bow and arrow, he was no longer as lazy as usual. His elegant and noble eyes were indifferent and focused, which was particularly eye-catching. Subsequently, he loosened the bowstring between his slender fingers and hit the 10th ring. He looked very relaxed. However, this was a distance of 50 meters. Very few people could be so accurate. After all, the usual archery range only had a range of 10 to 20 meters. The receptionist suppressed the admiration and excitement in her eyes and whispered to Bei Yunj with a red face, Miss, let me take you there. Bei Yunj, invisible seduction was the most deadly. Yun, do you want to try? In the blink of an eye, Hwashidu saw Bei Yunj walking over. He laughed lightly and made way for the arrow. I've never practiced 50 meters of archery before. Bei Yunj looked at the target in the distance and then at Hwashidu. When the man heard this, his deep and magnetic laughter flowed out along with his sexy Adam's apple, making people's ears itch. It's okay, brother will teach you. After speaking, the man picked up a pair of black leather gloves and slowly put them on for Bei Yunj. Chapter 367. When this scene landed in the eyes of the receptionist, pink bubbles inexplicably appeared in her heart. President Hua and this young lady looked too much like a couple. This was the first time the receptionist had seen Hwashidu doting on a young lady so much that he even personally put on gloves for her. Not only the receptionist, but many other people in the venue also noticed the scene in the VIP area. After Bae Yunj drew the bow, she closed her right eye and aimed at the bullseye. Suddenly, the man behind her covered the back of her hand with his warm fingertips. The man's light and deep voice was tainted with a bewitching magnetism. Along with his warm breath, it tickled her ears. "Move over a little." Bae Yunj was so agitated that her entire body trembled slightly. Her ears were slightly hot, and her entire body was surrounded by the man's cold and pleasant smell. It gave her an inexplicable sense of security. Bae Yunj, how could she concentrate on shooting? Bae Yunj's thoughts had long drifted away. Her back, which was close to the man's chest, seemed to be able to feel the man's body temperature and the beating of his heart through a thin layer of clothing. "Let go." As Hwashidu's deep voice sounded, Bae Yunj let go of her hand without even looking. She originally thought that it might be difficult to even hit the target this time, but she did not expect the man behind her to adjust for her and hit the bullseye. The next moment, a mischievous look flashed across the man's eyes. His gaze was frivolous as he asked casually, "Yun, I'm teaching you how to shoot. How can you learn when you keep watching me?" Bae Yunj looked at him with her beautiful eyes. After a moment, she said, "Brother." "Yes?" "You're too close to me. It's hard to focus." Bae Yunj did not hide why she was distracted at all, but her eyes were clear and serious. Hearing this, the man could not help but laugh. His low and lazy magnetic voice had a hint of a smile in it, which made people's faces turn red. "All right, then I'll stay away from Yun." Hwashidu nodded and moved aside to let Bae Yunj practice by herself. Bae Yunj had tried shooting targets with air rifles and short-range archery, so he quickly got the hang of it. Not far away, Hwashidu's lips curled up slightly when he saw the unhappiness in the young lady's eyes dissipate. She didn't know what was wrong with the child, but he was so unhappy today. "President Hua." Suddenly, the manager walked over from the side and shouted in a low voice. Hwashidu glanced sideways at him. "Why?" "President Fu has booked a private room, please have a seat there," the manager said carefully. Hearing this, the man's gaze was still fixed on Bae Yunj in the distance. He said lazily, "I'm not free." The manager, "Is it important for you to stand here and watch people shoot?" However, the manager did not dare to ask. He tried to persuade him carefully. "President Fu might have something to talk to you about. Or, should I invite President Fu over?" Hearing this, the man's eyes darkened and he glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. "We'll talk about it later." For the past 2 years, Fu Yenbai had always liked to bring along female companions in their early 20s. When he came over, he would inevitably see Bae Yunj. Soon, Bae Yunj had already mastered the shooting skills. Her hit rate soared, and the shop assistant beside her was stunned. Was this a beginner? Wasn't she learning too quickly? "Yun, come and have something to drink." Hearing the man's voice not far away, Bae Yunj put down her bow and arrow. "Brother, was someone looking for you just now?" Chapter 368. In other words, he was telling Fu Yenbai that Hwashidu was indeed not free. Even if Master Du was only watching from the side. However, when the woman in the man's arms heard this, a dark look flashed past her eyes. She might know who the lady the manager was talking about was. Back then, if she had not offended this person, Master Du would not have chased her out of the Hua Corporation and never hired her again. Yu Qinya gritted her teeth and hid the malice in her eyes. Although she was lucky enough to be fancied by Fu Yenbai after leaving the Hua Corporation, she could not help but be afraid. After all, Fu Yenbai's female companions for the past 2 years were not older than 26 years old. Very few people could stay by his side for 2 months. Moreover, she felt that Fu Yenbai seemed to be starting to get tired of her. Fu Yenbai raised his eyebrows and interest appeared in his eyes. Master Du has a lady? This news was a rare thing for anyone to hear. Yes. The manager nodded. Unexpectedly, Yuchinya hugged Fu Yanbai's arm and smiled. President Fu and Master Du are so close. Why don't we go and see what kind of girl Master Du has brought? She knew in her heart that Fu Yanbai was most interested in young girls in their early 20s. And that girl looked at most 20 years old. Yuchinya thought about it and did not think that Bei Yunja's status could be very noble. On the contrary, it was more likely that she was Huashidu's female companion. If that was the case, if Fu Yanbai was interested in Bei Yunj, would Huashidu not even be willing to part with a female companion? Thinking of this, Yuchinya could not help but smile as if she had vented her anger. Yes, we have to see who can capture Master Du. Fu Yanbai lowered his eyes and smiled. Seeing Yuchinya leaning over, he naturally and lazily held her chin and kissed her gently. This scene made the manager lower his head even more. Not long after, Bei Yunj had already mastered the shooting skills and her hit rate was rising. The shop assistant beside her was stunned. Was this a beginner? Wasn't she learning too quickly? Yun, come and have something to drink. Hearing the man's voice not far away, Bei Yunj put down her bow and arrow. Brother, someone was looking for you just now. Bei Yunj also caught a glimpse of the conversation between the manager and Huashidu. Yes. Huashidu handed her a glass of orange juice and lazily tidied Bei Yunja's slightly messy hair. Bei Yunj saw that Huashidu did not say much, so she did not ask. She slowly glanced at the air rifle field not far away and became a little more interested. Yun. Huashidu had just spoken when the phone in his pocket rang at an inappropriate time. Bei Yunj turned around and said, Brother, go and answer the phone. I'll go over there and try. Huashidu glanced at the name on his phone. Ji Iching. His eyes gradually became unclear, and he smiled again. Okay, I'll come back when I'm done. However, unexpectedly, not long after Huashidu left, Bei Yunj walked to the entrance of the archery path. She had just wiped her air rifle when an ear-piercing sound drifted into her ears. I really didn't expect that I would have the chance to meet you in this life, Mississippi. Bei Yunj turned around and saw a handsome young man and a familiar-looking woman. You are? Bei Yunj did not recognize her and only asked leisurely. These words made Yuchinya's face turn red, as if she had been greatly humiliated. Her eyes sparkled as she sneered, Miss, a noble person has short memories. Back then, in the Hua Corporation, I received a lot of favors from you. Chapter 369. Hearing this, Bei Yunj seemed to remember such a person. She seemed to be a secretary. Bei Yunj turned around and continued to test her gun. She said lazily, Don't stand on ceremony. Hearing this, Yuchinya's face turned red. Suddenly, the strange man who had been silent all this while had a possessive look in his eyes. He stared at her and asked, Your Master Du's female companion? Bei Yunja's first instinct was that this man was looking at her in a very uncomfortable way. Does this have something to do with sir? She did not even look at him and continued to test her gun after shooting. Yuchinya could not help but feel nervous and looked at Fu Yanbai. She thought that Fu Yanbai would blame Bei Yunj for being rude. But she did not expect Fu Yanbai's eyes to be glued to her. He really liked Bei Yunj. Yuchinya felt jealous and said arrogantly, Miss, this is Master Du's friend, President Fu. Isn't your attitude a little arrogant? A faint impatience and coldness appeared in Bei Yunja's eyes. She suddenly laughed. Her eyebrows were arrogant and her tone was lazy. So what if I am? Yuchinya's face turned green. However, the look in Fu Yanbai's eyes became even more intense. This gaze was exactly the same as the first time Yu Ling looked at him. Soon, the shop assistant ran over and smiled carefully. I'm sorry, the VIP area has been booked today. If you still want to play, I'm afraid you'll have to go to the ordinary area. These words. Yu Qinya could not help but look at Bei Yunj with jealousy in her eyes. They were both female companions, why was Master Du so nice to her? Yu Qinya laughed and deliberately raised her voice. I didn't expect Miss to be so good at coaxing men at such a young age. Her words shocked the shop assistant. She did not expect Yu Qinya to say this in public. Yu Qinya. Fu Yanbai glanced at her with a warning look in his eyes. He had brought Yu Qinya with him because she looked a little like Yu Ling when she smiled. But the more he interacted with her, the more he felt that this woman was vulgar. However, Bei Yunj suddenly laughed, looking lazy and flirtatious. You're good at coaxing men. That's impressive. Yu Qinya's face stiffened, and the shop assistant's face turned red. When these words came out of this young lady's mouth, there was an inexplicable sense of ambiguity. Yu Qinya bit her lip and blurted out, shameless. As soon as he finished speaking, the person who was practicing suddenly turned his gun. Before anyone could react, he pulled the trigger at Yu Qinya. Yu Qinya was so frightened that she couldn't help but scream. Not only Yu Qinya, but even the shop assistant was shocked. Fortunately, the bullet didn't hit anyone. After all, even an air rifle could easily injure people. If Bei Yunj had aimed the gun at Yu Qinya's face, it would probably have left a scar. At this moment, Yu Qinya woke up with a pale face and a weak body. That was because the bullet just now seemed to have scraped past her ear. Her ear was still burning with pain. Bei Yunj glanced at her and sneered slowly. So you can still shut up. Then I'll have to trouble you to work harder today and keep your mouth shut. Her cold words didn't allow anyone to comment. Yu Qinya's eyes reddened. She didn't expect Bei Yunj to treat her like this. Sir, why don't I take you and Miss to rest for a while? The shop assistant was really afraid that Bei Yunj would shoot her in the head. P.S. Holding an air rifle won't disfigure you. If you come out to diss me, you can check if the air rifle accidentally injured people and the death situation. Brainless comments will be deleted. End of this chapter. Chapter 370. They could not afford to offend President Fu. But they could not afford to offend President Hua. However, at this moment, Yu Qinya was so angry that her whole body was trembling. When she saw that Bei Yunj only scored 3 or 4 points, she could not help but sneer. What's the point of playing alone? If you're not afraid of losing, why don't you compete with me? Originally, she had accompanied Fu Yanbai here today to please him. After all, she was very good at shooting sports. But now, she had made up her mind to embarrass Bei Yunj on the spot. Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes were cold as she glanced at her indifferently. She smirked. You? Not at school. In her previous life, when Bei Yunj returned to the Pei family to inherit the family business, she had seen many female companions at the bar. But most of them were sensible. They knew their own status and could not cause trouble. As for the one in front of her, she was obviously brainless. Yu Qinya was furious. How could she not tell that Bei Yunj did not want to talk to her at all? Yu Qinya turned her head and begged the man beside her. President Fu, I just want to compete with Master Du's wife. Fu Yanbai glanced at her coldly, but his gaze landed on Bei Yunj again. He smiled. Sister, you don't want to? Previously, he had thought that Bei Yunj's personality was similar to Yu Ling's. But when Bei Yunj pointed her gun at Yu Qinya just now, he also felt that this girl was much wilder than Yu Ling. At least, Yu Ling would not dare to do such a thing. The impatience and coldness in Bei Yunj's eyes could not be suppressed. However, in the next moment, Yun. Not far away, the man's magnetic voice sounded, causing the hostility in Bei Yunj's eyes to dissipate. Brother. Her eyes curved. Compared to the way she ignored everyone just now, Bei Yunj was much more obedient now. When Yu Qinya heard this familiar voice, she froze and could not help but look at the man who was walking over. However, the man's gaze only landed on one person from the beginning to the end. "What are you doing here?" Huashida glanced at the others indifferently and finally asked Bei Yunj. "Someone wants to compete with me in shooting." Bei Yunj felt Yuchinya's eyes on Huashidu and the corners of her lips curled up. She took a step closer to the man and naturally held Huashidu's shirt. This scene almost made Yuchinya's eyes spit fire. But who would have thought? Huashidu did not shake off Bei Yunj. His gaze only landed on Fu Yanbai. "Are you very free?" Fu Yanbai laughed instead. "Master Du has a good eye for female companions." "How can this be a female companion?" The man stretched out his hand lazily and casually scratched Bei Yunj's chin. His magnetic voice was so casual that it made people's ears go soft. "This is the ancestor of the family." After saying this, everyone else was stunned. Not only Yuchinya, but even Fu Yanbai's smile froze. Huashidu had always been pure and had few desires. He had never seen him treat other women differently. However, the person in front of him was the first one. "Who do you want to compete with her?" The man with clear eyes turned his head lazily again. It was obvious that he wanted to find trouble with Fu Yanbai for this girl. "Master Du, do you have to be so unhappy?" Fu Yanbai smiled. But everyone knew in their hearts. Fu Yanbai wanted Yuchinya to compete with Bei Yunj. That was obvious. He treated Bei Yunj as Huashidu's lover. Similarly, Yuchinya looked at Huashidu and Bei Yunj standing together and resentment rose in her heart. Chapter 371. Suddenly. "It's not that I don't want to." Then, Bei Yunj curved her lips and her eyes were frighteningly cold. "That will depend on what President Fu is willing to use as the wager." Fu Yanbai smiled. "What do you want, sister? Is the Fu Corporation okay too?" The girl's slow question made the entire place fall into silence. This sister seemed to be a ruthless person. "Yun, I'm afraid President Fu can't make this decision. But President Fu can still afford 5% of the Fu Corporation's shares." The man let out a long laugh and said unhurriedly. It was obvious that Huashidu was going to support this girl. Fu Yanbai smiled. "If Yaya wins, how much will President Hua have to fork out?" 5% of the Hua Corporation. The man did not care. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't expect that such a simple competition would have such high stakes. 5% of the Fu Corporation could not be compared to 5% of the Hua Corporation. Fu Yanbai came back to his senses. "I didn't expect Master Du to be so reckless. I'm just making my child happy." The man's lazy tone was indescribably indulgent. Then, he naturally held the girl's wrist and led her to the archery path at the side. Bei Yunj felt the dry and warm palm on her wrist and her heart inexplicably skipped a few beats. "There's a reason why brother has so many rotten peach blossoms." Bei Yunj walked beside the male actor and said in a double volume. This man could easily show just the right amount of intimacy. It made people's hearts throb and jump for joy. They wanted to take aim. When Huashidu heard this, he raised his eyebrows slightly. He looked casual and frivolous. But brother doesn't have a headache about rotten peach blossoms. He only has a headache about the ingrates at home. Bei Yunj, Yuchinya, who was following behind, did not hear the conversation clearly, but her gaze was fixed on the man who took the initiative to hold Bei Yunj's hand. It was just as she had thought in the past. For a cold and abstinent man like Huashidu, once he was tainted by love, how terrible would he look? Even favoritism was enough to make one's heart beat wildly. But the person who pulled him down from the altar was another woman. Yuchinya unconsciously clenched her fists. Jealousy and anger intertwined in her heart. The malice in her eyes was even more frightening. In front of the arrow path, Yuchinya's face was cold. She tried her best not to make her face look distorted. "How about we each shoot 10 times and see the total score?" "Major." Looking at Bei Yunja's indifferent expression, Yu Qinya couldn't help but sneer. All right, I'll go first. Yu Qinya walked in front of the archery path and confidently picked up the air rifle, ready to work. Not long after, gunshots rang out one after another. The shop assistant beside him, who was counting the rings, had a look of admiration. Yu Qinya was indeed good at this. Out of the 10 gunshots, the lowest one was a 6-ring one. The rest were stable at 7 or 8 rings, and there was even a 10th ring. One had to know that the target used for the 10-meter standard archery track was very close to the standard target of the international competition. Although the difficulty was reduced by a lot, it was still difficult to hit the bullseye. 6 rings once, 7 rings 4 times, 8 rings 3 times, 9 rings once, and 10 rings once. The total number of rings is 77. Hearing that the results were better than usual, Yu Qinya's eyes were filled with pride. Not far away, Fu Yanbai also smiled with interest. Master Du, I think I'm going to win this round. Is that so? Huashidu didn't seem to care. Bei Yunj might lose 5% of the Hua Corporation's shares. It's your turn now. Yu Qinya walked up to Bei Yunj arrogantly. Bei Yunj ignored her. Instead, he glanced at the man not far away. His upturned eyes curved slightly. Not long after, everyone saw this unfamiliar girl in front of them. She only adjusted for about half a minute before aiming. Chapter 372. Before anyone could react, the sound of gunshots suddenly rang out. This was completely unlike Yu Qinya, who would stop and adjust after shooting just now. The sound of gunshots almost didn't seem to be interrupted. It made people wonder if the person who was shooting now knew how to shoot. However, the result was unexpected. The shop assistant was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly said, 9 points. When they heard the lowest score, everyone froze. Yu Qinya, who was originally full of smugness, had a distorted expression. When Bei Yunj was testing the gun just now, she didn't even get a high score. But what was going on now? 9 times 10 points. This was the second time the shop assistant had encountered such a godly result. He almost suspected that he was in a dream. Was this result serious? Was this really not a godly person? How is this possible? Yu Qinya subconsciously blurted out, her face pale. However, after Bei Yunj put down the gun, she turned around and smiled at Huashidu. Her bright eyes were full of high spirits. Brother, I won. Seeing Bei Yunj turn around and look at him with a pair of sparkling eyes, Huashidu inexplicably felt something tickle his heart. It was itchy and made his heart flutter slightly. Huashidu's eyes gradually darkened and hid all the light. He suddenly walked towards her and casually reached out to help Bei Yunj tidy the clothes that were tied around her waist. He curled his lips and laughed hoarsely. Yes, amazing. This scene was indescribably doting. It was simply fatal. Many female friends around them felt their teenage hearts reignite. However, Yu Qinya's face turned pale. She subconsciously took a step back and was a little distracted. How could this be? This woman was deliberately lying to her. This woman clearly knew how to shoot, but she deliberately didn't. Wasn't it obvious that she wanted to see her make a fool of herself? At this moment, unexpectedly, Fu Yanbai's expression was not bad. Instead, he looked at Bei Yunj with even more passion. He didn't expect the girl beside Huashidu to be so powerful. Huashidu had really picked up a treasure. Suddenly, I almost forgot about President Fu's bet. Bei Yunj's voice sounded. Yu Qinya bit her lip and stared at Bei Yunj. She couldn't stop complaining. You did it on purpose. You obviously know how to do it, yet you still want to compete with me. I don't know how to do it. Why should I compete with you? Bei Yunj sneered. These words made Yu Qinya's face turn red. It's time for President Fu to fulfill his promise. Bei Yunj wiped his hands slowly, but there was no warmth in his beautiful eyes, and the curve of his lips was cold. Hearing this, Yu Qinya subconsciously looked at Fu Yanbai. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and one couldn't help but be moved. Fu Yanbai spoke. When the time comes, I'll have someone draft the agreement and send it to Master Du. Before Yu Qinya could heave a sigh of relief, he looked at her again and said coldly, "You don't have to follow me anymore." In an instant, Yu Qinya's face was pale, and she was trembling all over. She didn't expect Fu Yanbai to treat her like this in public. "President Fu, Before Yu Qinya could say anything, she met Fu Yanbai's cold gaze and subconsciously didn't dare to say anything. But when she turned around, when she saw Bei Yunj, her expression became indignant again. What right did this person have to be chosen by Huashidu? What right did she have to be stepped on by this person? She looked at Bei Yunj and couldn't help but mock, "Are you very proud? But no matter how proud you are, you're just a person who relied on fishing men to get to where you are." As soon as she finished speaking, Yu Qinya didn't notice that Huashidu's gaze had become colder. The atmosphere became even colder. Before anyone could guess, Huashidu suddenly said, "Ask your manager to come over." Hearing this, the staff quickly nodded and immediately called the manager to deal with the situation. When the others saw this scene, they also knew that Yu Qinya had completely offended this gentleman. Yu Qinya was also afraid, but she didn't want to believe that Huashidu really didn't have any intention of taking pity on her. Then, she heard the manager's voice. "President Hua, why are you looking for me?" The manager said with a fawning smile. "Your boss's biological sister is being bullied in his shop. Do you still need me to settle this matter?" Huashidu's unhurried voice sounded. However, when the manager heard this, he was stunned. The boss's sister? The people around also regained their senses. This archery hall was opened by Qin Yu. The boss's sister. Wasn't she the eldest sister of the Qin family? Everyone was in disbelief. They didn't expect to meet the eldest sister of the Qin family, who would make the headlines from time to time. The manager was even more stunned. Why eldest sister? He never thought that President Huo would not bring along a young female companion, but his boss's sister? What was going on? Bei Yunj also furrowed her eyebrows quietly. She didn't expect this to be Qin Yu's place. Impossible. She's the Qin family's sister. Yu Qinya's expression changed immediately and she could not continue speaking, as if she had been struck by lightning. After all, everyone still remembered clearly that the Qin family had spent hundreds of millions to celebrate Bei Yunj's birthday. "If you don't handle this well, your boss will talk to you," Huashidu said calmly. Hearing this, the manager shivered. He had long heard about how much their boss doted on his sister. If his boss found out that his biological sister was being bullied here, he, as the manager, might be done for. However, what made him angry but not dare to say anything was that this master only told him now. When he first came in, he didn't even inform him. Otherwise, he would have arranged for at least 4 security guards to follow Bei Yunj. No matter what, eldest sister was the most important. The manager took a deep breath and smiled. "I'll settle this for eldest sister. Don't worry." With that said, the manager looked at Bei Yunj, his gaze becoming even more amiable. "If eldest sister wants to play in the future, just call me in advance. I'll empty the VIP area for eldest sister." Seeing this treatment, Yu Qinya finally knew how far apart she was from this woman in front of her. Yu Qinya's legs turned to jelly. She didn't expect to really kick an iron board this time. Bei Yunj replied casually and looked at Huashidu. "Brother, let's go back." "Okay." The moment Huashidu finished speaking, Fu Yanbai's gaze darkened. Then, before he could follow, the woman beside him grabbed his wrist. "President Fu. President Fu, I was wrong. Can you forgive me?" A trace of coldness and impatience flashed past Fu Yanbai's eyes. Watching as Huashidu left, he shook Yu Qinya off and didn't say anything. He didn't care how badly the woman behind him was crying. Outside the door. President Hua is leaving so quickly. Aren't you willing to bring Sister Pei to have dinner with me? Chapter 373. Fu Yanbai, who had chased after her, kept staring at Bei Yunj. There was a hint of a smile in his refined eyes, but his gaze made people feel uncomfortable. Hearing this, Bei Yunj's expression when she was talking to Hushidu just now was gone. Her beautiful eyes were cold. She could feel that he had a motive. Suddenly, the man beside her held Bei Yunj's hand. His warm palm stunned Bei Yunj. Hushidu's tone was casual. There's no need. Fu Yanbai put out the cigarette in his hand. He did not hide his interest in Bei Yunj. His gaze was filled with possessiveness. Master Du, consider it as doing me a favor this time. How about giving me a girl? He could tell that this girl treated Hushidu differently from the others. But with Hushidu's status, what kind of woman couldn't he want? Who would think? The man only sneered softly, as if there was a hint of disdain and coldness in his voice. He held the girl's hand and said in a low and magnetic voice, Fu Yanbai, this child is mine. Hearing this, Fu Yanbai was stunned for a moment. He obviously did not expect Hushidu to give such an answer. President Hua, you're not someone who cares about women. Fu Yanbai clenched his fists, his gaze still on Bei Yunj. Fu Yanbai, how can you go crazy? The corners of the man's upturned eyes were charming, but there was no warmth in his pale-colored pupils. His unhurried voice was gentle but cold. But if anyone dares to touch my child, I will personally cripple half of his life. Bei Yunj looked sideways. She saw the man's handsome side profile. He looked casual, but it made her heart flutter. President Hua, you know that she looks like Yu Ling. Fu Yanbai was unwilling to accept it. Hushidu sneered. No one can compare to my girl. Don't have any ideas about my people. Otherwise, with old Master Fu around, I don't mind teaching you how to be a person on his behalf. After that, Hushidu left with Bei Yunj. Fu Yanbai was left standing on the spot with a terrifying gaze and his hands clenched into fists. Outside the door, Bei Yunj looked at Hushidu. Brother? This was the first time she saw Hushidu like this. After a while, Hushidu's expression gradually returned to normal. He smiled and pinched her face casually. Did you scare our union? No, Sakura. Bei Yunj asked subconsciously, what's wrong with that person? How could he be so obsessed with someone he met for the first time? If you see him in the future, make a detour. Hushidu explained slowly and added, this is a lunatic. 2 years ago, he forced the woman he liked to jump into the sea. All these years, Fu Yanbai had been looking for the whereabouts of that woman. She heard that the young female companions beside Fu Yanbai all looked a little like that woman. Do I look like the person he likes? Bei Yunj recalled Fu Yanbai's words just now. Hushidu's gaze landed on her. Just as Bei Yunj felt a little awkward and wanted to turn her face away, the man suddenly approached her. He looked at her and smiled. His low and magnetic voice carried a hint of warmth that seemed to be able to stir the wind by her ears. You don't look like it. Our union is unique. Bei Yunj, why did this man always feel like he was whispering sweet nothings? Brother, don't you have something to talk to me about? Bei Yunj changed the topic. The man seemed to pause for a moment before he chuckled hoarsely. Yes, there's something. When Bei Yunj heard this, she instinctively looked up. Unexpectedly, she met the man's dark eyes. There was an inexplicable sense of aggression as he stared straight at her. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.